Chapter 1235. If Miss Gu doesn't have any questions, we can sign the contract now. The bald man in a suit looked at Shisheng with a smile. Shisheng nodded and signed. I don't care about the rest. I'll send someone into the company. I just need to see the annual turnover. Of course, if you want to do anything, remember to do it secretly. If I find out, you can imagine the consequences. After Shisheng finished speaking and signed the contract, he looked up and smiled at the bald man. The sun outside the window was scorching hot, pouring in through the glass window. The room was stuffy, but the bald man could not feel any warmth. The person sitting opposite him was not a little girl, but a big boss with a murderous aura who had been in the business world for a long time. He forced a smile and broke out in cold sweat. Of course. You're our boss now. Let's go. The bald man was stunned. That's it? Do you want me to treat you to a meal? No. The bald man quickly waved his hand. The bald man left in a hurry. When he went out, he bumped into Yi Chun at the door. He looked very surprised and called out, Young Master Yi? Yi Chun did not know him. He nodded slightly and walked past him. When he was in Beijing, he would attend some important events. It was normal for some people to know him, but there was no need for him to know them. The bald man saw Yi Chun walk to the new boss and sit down. His head exploded. No wonder he was so arrogant. He was young Master Ye's man. The bald man extinguished the unrealistic thoughts in his heart. This was young Master Ye's man. Who would dare to touch him? Shisheng and Yi Chun stayed here for a few days mainly because Yi Chun wanted to stay here. After all, he grew up in the city. The big city was his home ground. He didn't know if it was intentional or not, but he brought Shisheng to meet quite a few people. With his status, these people would more or less give Shisheng face by opening the back door and making things easier for her. Although Shisheng did not need it. Have you had enough fun? Shisheng looked at the person lying on the bed. If you're done, we'll go back. Yi Chun flipped over and his bathrobe fell open, revealing a large part of his skin. Little girl, don't you like to spend time alone with me? Shisheng. To hell with just the two of them. She was the one who paid. Shisheng sat on the edge of the bed. Major General Yi, let's calculate how much money you've spent these past few days. Yi Chun sat up immediately. Little girl, talking about money hurts our relationship. I'm your man. What's wrong with spending some of your money? Do you know what kind of man spends a woman's money? Yi Chun looked at the Shisheng and did not answer. Shisheng propped herself up on the bed and climbed on top of him. She looked down at him. Major General Yi, do you want to be my sugar baby? Yes. Yi Chun's eyes were full of seriousness. I only want to belong to you. Little girl, buying me out is very cost-effective. Shisheng's mouth twitched. Why aren't you the one buying me out? Yi Chun was helpless. I don't have money. He was very poor. He could be rated as the poorest major general in history. Shisheng. I don't know what to say to this reason. Little girl, what are you thinking about? Yi Chun realized that he did not get any response after kissing for a long time. He could not help but get angry. You're thinking about other things when it comes to me, huh? Shisheng tilted his head. Can't you control yourself? Yi Chun's lips moved down and landed on Shisheng's collarbone. His fingertips gently lifted her lapel and smiled ambiguously. I want to die in bed with you. Damn it. How shameless. She was like a poison. Once touched, one would be addicted to it and lead a befuddled life. Half a year passed quickly. You and the others were tortured badly in the special training camp. Most importantly, they were always guarding the huge special training camp. Those people never brought them out. Moreover, they could not go out. There were no guards in the special training camp in the past. Ever since they came, there were guards. Want to go out? No way. Yu's investigation did not make any progress. There was nothing in the special training camp. The countdown to the assessment of the special training camp was getting closer and closer. It meant that they were about to leave the camp. The assessment was divided into two parts. The base assessment and the actual combat assessment. The base assessment was arranged by Yi Chun and recorded by the people in the military. However, the actual combat assessment had to wait for the higher-ups to bring the mission. September. A few helicopters suddenly appeared in the sky above the special training camp. Everyone in the special training camp knew that the actual combat assessment mission was coming. Huoguo brought a few people down from the helicopter with a gloomy face. "Uncle Hua, you're back?" Xiaoxing ran up to him. "Are you here to deliver the assessment mission? Where's the Major General?" Huoguo did not answer Xiaoxing and asked in a low voice. Xiaoxing thought for a while. "The Major General should be, with Xiaolan. Bring me to the Major General." Xiaoxing saw that Huoguo's expression was not good. He swallowed his words and brought him to Yichen. Yichen and Shisheng were in the office. They were normal and did not do anything inappropriate. "Major General." Huoguo stood upright and saluted. Yichen only glanced at him and smiled. "What's the mission?" Huoguo's eyes darkened. He stood there and did not speak for a while. After a while he looked at Shisheng, indicating that it was not convenient for her to say it here. Shisheng stood up and wanted to leave. Yichen said, "Huoguo, I don't want to repeat what I said before. This is confidential. Do you think that I won't tell her if she wants to know, even if you hide it from her?" Huoguo was speechless. "Major General, where did you get your pride from? Did you think that you were playing house?" Huoguo glanced at Shisheng again and said angrily, "Your assessment mission is to successfully capture Chengji. So difficult?" Yichen raised his eyebrows. Even the old man didn't object to this mission? "Major General, the Yi family's situation is not as good as you think." Huoguo's tone was helpless. "Who is Chengji?" Shisheng asked. "He's a drug lord and a very cunning person. He's a headache for the higher-ups. This kind of mission is not supposed to be part of the assessment mission, but the higher-ups gave it to you. This mission is to make you fail the assessment and even lose your life." Huoguo knew that even if he did not say it, Yichen would say it anyway. It would be a waste of time if he kept it a secret. Huoguo stared at Yichen sharply. "The assessment this time is not for those people. It's for you, Major General. Those people will only be buried with you. Only when you die will the Yi family fall completely." Shisheng touched his chin and a dangerous look flashed across his eyes. He dared to target her people. He was quite bold. However, she did not know if he had the guts to face the consequences. Hopefully he did not have a heart attack. Huoguo reminded her. "Miss Gu and you. Your file is already on those people's table." Shisheng did not care. "I just wanted them to know. When do we set off?" Huoguo looked at her calm appearance, and the bottom of his heart actually calmed down a lot. "We'll set off immediately." Chapter 1236. Everyone in the special training camp was ready to go, including the 50-man team. Huoguo did not know about this. It was Jiang Jianhua who told him personally. Shisheng watched him talk to Hiyu for a long time. Hiyu looked reluctant, and even angry in the end. Jiang Jianhua said something and Hiyu's face darkened. Hiyu turned around and boarded the helicopter. Shisheng guessed that Jiang Jianhua wanted Hiyu to find a chance to get rid of Yichen. However, Hiyu was the male lead. Even if he had a breakdown, he would not agree immediately. Hence he showed resistance and anger. Then Jiang Jianhua threatened Hiyu with something. Hiyu did not agree but did not reject either. Shisheng observed Jiang Jianhua's expression for a while, and realized that he did not panic at all. This meant that he was confident that Hiyu would agree. Jiang Jianhua noticed that someone was looking at him, and looked at Shisheng. His expression changed slightly. Shisheng's mouth twitched and his smile was sinister. Cold sweat broke out on Jiang Jianhua's back. Huoguo went with them, but he only sent them to the border. After the helicopter was transferred to the truck, he could not go with them anymore. Huoguo gave a standard military salute. "Major General, we will wait for your return." Yichen waved his hand lazily. After getting into the car, the person in charge of this operation passed the information to Yichen. Yichen flipped through it and passed it to Shisheng. The person in charge looked at Shisheng with a complicated expression, but did not stop him. Shisheng flipped through the information. The first page was Chengji's personal information. He came from a village and was a soldier when he was young. He was once the pride of the army. He became a drug lord, and was the pride of the drug lords. This kind of big shot had a strong resume and could defeat countless geniuses. This time, the news came from a spy who was hiding beside Qingji. They would have a big deal. Catching a drug lord was a waste of time if they caught the person but did not find the goods. If they found the goods but did not catch the person, it was also a waste of time. They had to catch the person and the goods at the same time. For this mission, they had requested support from many parties. They were determined to catch Qingji. Are you sure this spy did not betray us? Shisheng closed the information and looked at the person in charge with a faint smile. Our people have undergone strict training. They will never betray us. The person in charge's face darkened, and he exuded the powerful aura of a soldier. He used his life to spread the news. I don't want to hear such words again. Didn't Qingji also go through strict training? Shisheng was not afraid of the director's anger at all. The person in charge. Just then, the car arrived at the campsite. Shisheng opened the car door and got out. Yichen followed suit. What did you find? He had also read the information. There was nothing wrong with it. Shisheng looked at the 20-man team and said casually, No, I'm just scaring him. The corner of Yi Chen's mouth twitched. Will he be frightened? Who knows? I just wanted to scare him. Why can't I? Shisheng tilted his head and looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen chuckled. His eyes were filled with affection. Sure, whatever you do is right. Shisheng and Yi Chen were arranged to be in the middle of the campsite while the rest were arranged to be on the periphery. Yi Chen was very busy after arriving at the campsite. He was in meetings all day long. In the next few days, more and more people arrived. They made such a big fuss over Qingji. Shisheng wondered if Qingji had 3 heads and 6 arms. I heard that the person from the Yi family is here too. Why don't I see him? I saw him before. He's younger than I thought. I heard that he was also the one who solved the transnational case. This young Master Yi is not as spoiled as the rumors say. If he was really spoiled, he wouldn't have been promoted to Major General so quickly. Shisheng only knew that Yi Chen was quite famous in the army after listening to these people's discussions. He thought that Yi Chen had gotten his Major General rank through the back door. He did not expect that he had earned it all by himself. Yi Chen had been in the army for 5 years. When he first entered the army, he caused a huge commotion. A few troops kicked him out. Later on, he somehow joined the special forces. Instead of being kicked out, his military rank rose again and again, just like riding a rocket. When Yi Chen returned at night, he instinctively went to Shisheng's tent. Little girl. The imposing manner on Yi Chen's face immediately weakened. Did you miss me? Of course not. Shisheng rolled his eyes. They had just met in the afternoon. Little girl, don't you love me anymore? Yi Chen looked hurt. Shisheng was speechless. If you continue to be unreasonable, I will beat you up. Shisheng got up and sat beside Yi Chen. I didn't expect you to be so good. Of course. Didn't you experience it yourself? Yi Chen's lips curled up slightly. He was full of pride. Shisheng was speechless. Why did every word he said become so dirty? There was no way to chat. Little girl, don't participate in the battle on the 26th. Yi Chen suddenly said, I don't want you to be in danger. Will you participate? I'm the person in charge. How can I not participate? Although Yi Chen was trained by Shisheng, he was the instructor of the special training camp. Do you think I'll let you go alone? Yi Chen frowned. But, Shisheng blocked Yi Chen's words with his mouth. Yi Chen was dizzy from the kiss, and could not remember what he wanted to say. When Yi Chen came out, the night wind blew and he woke up. His eyes were full of helplessness. How could he forget everything after being seduced? If he was in ancient times, he would definitely be a fatuous ruler. Qingji's deal with the people was on the 26th of September at dawn. On the 25th at 7 o'clock in the evening, the people in the camp began to distribute their tasks. Yi Chen changed into his military uniform. This was definitely the first time Shisheng saw him in a military uniform. He was a little shocked and a little tempted. Some impure thoughts flashed through Shisheng's mind. Shisheng watched Yi Chen distribute the tasks in an orderly manner. His wife was never weak. He just hid his brilliance in front of her. Shisheng's eyes curved. She really liked him. He used 50-man team was not under Yi Chen's command. It was directly under the person in charge. It was not the first time he participated in such a mission, but it was the first time he saw Yi-Chen so serious. In the past, Yi-Chen always looked like a lazy loafer in the special training camp, not to mention wearing a military uniform. Let's go. Yi-Chen raised his voice. Compared to the others, his voice was not loud, but it had an imposing manner that was difficult to defy. Shisheng took a military bag and followed behind the team. Their task was to lie in ambush around the trading site and wait for the others to move. Then they would wait for an opportunity to capture Qingji. The others had objections to such a nonsensical arrangement. They were a group of new recruits who had never participated in actual combat. How could they take on such a task? However, this was an order from the higher-ups. Their objections were useless. After leaving the range of those people and walking for a distance, Shisheng asked them to stop. We'll take a detour from that side. Yi-Chen looked at her in confusion. Do you still remember what our task is? Capture Qingji. Shisheng nodded. Their task was to capture Qingji. As for whether the others' actions would fail, it was not within her consideration. Yi-Chen's eyes turned and he suddenly laughed. You're so cruel. I only care about what I care about. The others have nothing to do with me. Then I'm honored to be able to gain your favor. Chapter 1237. Shisheng led his men to change their route. These people were all Shisheng's diehard fans. No matter what she said, they would listen to her. They were lying in ambush on a path that they had to pass through. The waiting time was boring. Shisheng and his men started to chew on melon seeds and chat. Yi-Chen leaned against a tree and looked down at the people beside him. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. The soldiers trained by others would definitely be nervous if it was their first time participating in such an actual battle. But this group of people? They were still in the mood to chew on melon seeds, as if they were on an excursion. Instructor, there's movement. The sentry at the front ran back. The group of people who were munching on melon seeds immediately became serious and quickly returned to their positions. Shisheng was still squatting at the same spot and munching on melon seeds. The sound was eerie in the silent forest. The car drove over from the winding mountain road below. The sound covered the sound of Shisheng munching on melon seeds. The car gradually approached, but the group of people did not move and allowed the car to pass. The car quickly disappeared on the winding mountain road. About half an hour later, another car appeared. Yi-Chen made a hand gesture. In the darkness, the others started to move. Shisheng was focused on munching on melon seeds and watching the show. Amidst the dense gunfire, he naturally did not hear her. He used team and the person in charge were together. When they heard the gunshots, they were dumbfounded. Equally dumbfounded were the vanguard team that they were monitoring. When they heard the gunshots, everyone's reaction was the same. They pulled out their guns and pointed at each other. Damn it. How dare they attack each other? That's the direction we came from. Who's attacking each other? Shoot them. Qingji's men were even more furious. Qingji was at the back with the goods, but these people actually attacked from behind, and even turned around. Damn it. The first gunshot was heard, followed by a series of gunshots. Seeing that Qingji's men were retreating, the person in charge did not hesitate and ordered them to open fire. Suddenly, a third party appeared. The people who were fighting fiercely just now immediately pointed their guns at the third party. It was obvious that they knew that the third party was not the one who attacked. Major General Ye's team is not here, someone suddenly shouted. They had already opened fire, but Yi-Chen, who was supposed to be lying in ambush nearby, did not move at all. The person in charge's face was as black as ink. Without Yi-Chen and the rest blocking the way, the other party had a direction to retreat in. They're running away. Stop them from the side. Chase. The sound of gunfire spread far and wide in the mountains, startling the birds and causing them to fly away. At this time, Shisheng's men were all tied up. Shisheng walked past them. No. Qingji was not here. Instructor, the goods in the car are all ordinary flour. Instructor, then wouldn't our efforts be in vain? Do you think it's so easy to catch them? Do you think they'll become a headache for the military? Shisheng rolled his eyes. Throw them into the car and let's go. Everyone was confused. Where are we going? Shisheng's eyes curved into crescents. Crack down on prostitution. Everyone. Could he use another word? There were several luxuriously built villas in the mountains. A man dressed in fancy clothes came in from outside and said in a rough voice, "There's a police officer? Humph. Luckily I didn't plan to sell the goods this time. Otherwise I'd really be in trouble. How many brothers would I have lost?" He suddenly stopped in his tracks and stared at the women who were tied up in the villa. Danger surged into his head. The next second, he immediately retreated. However, he was already surrounded outside. Black muzzles were pointed at him. He had to thank the fact that communication was not advanced in this era. As long as everyone was caught, it would not be so easy to spread the news. These people were dressed in camouflage uniforms. It was obvious who they were. Cheng Ji's gaze swept across the surroundings. The bodyguards who were standing around just now were all on the ground. F***ck. Cheng Ji never thought that he would be caught in his home one day. He was tied up and brought into the villa. There were 2 more people in the villa. The woman looked young and was sitting on the sofa drinking tea. He knew the man. It was Yi Chen. Cheng Ji calmed down quickly. He had nothing here. Even if he was caught, it would not be a big deal. Thus Cheng Ji immediately asked, "Who are you? What do you want?" "Don't be anxious, Mr. Cheng. Your goods will be here soon." Shisheng put down his teacup and said with a smile. Cheng Ji did not expect Shisheng to be the one who spoke. He glanced at her and narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean?" Yi Chen did not speak. How could he let this woman speak? "Oh, I was too bored waiting for Mr. Cheng, so I asked your butler to bring your goods here." Cheng Ji sneered. "Impossible. Mr. Cheng, nothing is impossible in this world. If you have the intention, you will succeed." Shisheng's lips curved. "Let's wait. We'll know soon." Cheng Ji wanted to say something, but his mouth was covered by the people behind him. He groaned like an enraged lion. His eyes bulged and veins popped out on his forehead. He looked ferocious and terrifying. Although Cheng Ji's goods were not here, they were in the underground warehouse built nearby. After a few hours, the delivery teams began to arrive one after another. The girl opposite him looked at him and smiled. Her voice was clear and pleasant. "Mr. Cheng, look. Aren't you caught red-handed now?" Cheng Ji struggled violently. It was the first time he met a police officer who did not follow the normal procedure. Cheng Ji was in despair. Damn it, this was framing him. Although those goods were his, in Shisheng's words, this was not framing him. This was just moving the goods that belonged to him. There was nothing wrong with it. The 20-man team was in despair. Why did the instructor feel that they were leading them astray? After Cheng Ji was arrested, the rest of the police officers were in charge. However, Yi Chen's unauthorized departure was reported to the higher-ups. It was said that Yi Chen was going to be punished severely. However, before the punishment was handed down, he was stopped by someone. When the Yi family heard the news, they were also puzzled. Who spoke? Father Yi was very surprised and asked the colleague who came to pass the message. His colleague said mysteriously, "You definitely won't be able to guess who it is." Father Yi pondered for a few seconds. That old man from the Gu family? There were only a few people whose words were useful in this matter. However, there was only one person who could stand on his side. His colleague was speechless. Father Yi knew that he had guessed correctly. Is it really him? Your little rascal is lucky to have caught the eye of the young lady from the Gu family. Father Ye's expression changed. Old Yi, so many years have passed. We are no longer the hot-blooded youngsters from back then. He has left the capital for so many years. Let's forget about any grudges. Moreover, if your little rascal marries the young lady, won't you get back 10%? Father Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. This matter is different from what you know. Asterisk, do you want to know about the grudges between Father Gu and Father Yi? I won't, haha. Chapter 1238. Mr. Gu finally saw his daughter, but the annoying Yi Chen was following behind her. He wanted to sweep him out with a broom. Yi Chen sent Shisheng away and sat in the courtyard with Mr. Gu. He said sincerely, "Uncle Gu, thank you for your help." I don't understand what you're talking about. Mr. Gu pulled a long face. Don't think that I'll let you in just because of this. Let me tell you, no way. Yi Chen did not mention that, and went along with Mr. Gu. It's okay, uncle. I'll climb the wall. Mr. Gu grabbed the vegetables beside him and threw them at Yi Chen. Mrs. Gu happened to see this and scolded Mr. Gu for a while. Finally he ate. Before he picked up his chopsticks, the sound of a car came from outside. The courtyard door was pushed open, and a group of people rushed in. The leading middle-aged man was wearing a straight military uniform. His eyes were sharp and he looked a little like Yi Chen. Dad. Yi Chen stood up. Why are you here? Mr. Gu looked up and picked up his chopsticks to start eating. Mrs. Gu kicked him under the table. Mr. Gu chewed twice before putting down his chopsticks. What are you doing here? Mr. Yi saw Mr. Gu's unpleasant expression and suddenly smiled. I'm here to see my future daughter-in-law. Mr. Gu said coldly. Your future daughter-in-law is not here. The door is over there. I won't see you out. Isn't this it? Mr. Yi looked at Shisheng. My son is lucky. He should marry such a good girl as soon as possible. What do you think, brat? Yi Chen pursed his lips and smiled. Dad, if I want to marry her, she has to be willing. He did not have the final say in this matter. I don't agree. Mr. Gu wanted to slam the table, but there were too many dishes on the table. He could only slap his thigh. Enough. Mrs. Gu pinched him. Old Yi, you came all the way here. Come and sit down. I'll get you a pair of chopsticks. Then I won't be polite. Mr. Yi ignored Mr. Gu's murderous gaze and sat down on Yi Chen's seat. He immediately handed a small box to Shisheng. Little girl, this is a gift for our first meeting. Don't mind it. Shisheng looked at Yi Chen and took it slowly. Thank you, uncle. Little girl is more pleasing to the eye. She has manners. She was implying that Father Gu was impolite. Shisheng suspected that his father was going to chase him away with a broom, so he quickly comforted him. Dad, don't forget that today is my welcome party. He was already so old, yet he was still acting like a child. What was the meaning of this? Mother Gu added a bowl and chopsticks for Father Yi. In the past, Father Gu would always scold Yi Chen. Now they were eating to watch Father Gu and Father Yi argue with each other. Shisheng face-bombed. How were they going to live like this? However, the father and son of the Yi family both had a unique skill that could make Father Gu drunk. Shisheng and Yi Chen worked together to bring Father Gu back to his room. Shisheng looked at Yi Chen with a headache. Why didn't you tell me that your father was coming? I don't know. Yi Chen was very innocent. He did not know that Father Yi would come. Furthermore, they had just returned. How could Father Yi contact him? Shisheng. Let's go out. Shisheng pushed Yi Chen out. Little girl, when are you going to marry me? After you pay off your debt. Yi Chen was not convinced. Didn't I pay with my body? Why is there still one? Shisheng glared at him. If I say there is, then there is. Yi Chen felt wronged. Little girl, I hope you don't blame me for what happened back then. Shisheng and Yi Chen stopped in their tracks at the same time. They looked at each other, and eavesdropped on the conversation through the gap of the door. Mother Gu smiled and said gently, It's all in the past. Don't mention it. Old Gu doesn't hate you. He just can't put down his pride. Father Yi was silent for a while and sighed. He still hates me. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have gotten into a conflict with others and implicated you. Father Ye's voice was full of guilt. That child should be around Yi Chen's age when he was born. Old Yi, let bygones be bygones. Mother Gu's voice seemed to be choked with sobs. Sai, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have mentioned it. It's okay. That child was unlucky. Shisheng turned his head and looked at Yi Chen. Do you know what happened? Yi Chen shook his head. He only knew that every year during the New Year, his father would bring him to pay a New Year's visit to the old master of the Gu family. They never stayed for long and left after paying their New Year's greetings. At night, Yi Chen sent Father Yi to stay in the military zone. In the middle of the night, he climbed through the window into Shisheng's house and told him a story about the older generation. Father Yi and Father Gu grew up together. Father Yi was supposed to inherit the family business, but because of Father Gu, He chose to be a soldier. At that time, the Yi family was furious. This path was not easy, but both of them persevered. Not long after Father Gu got married, Father Yi provoked a few powerful gangsters. At first, Father Yi taught them a lesson, but who knew that they would resort to underhanded means? Of course, Father Gu was with him. The two of them worked together to beat them up. They never thought that they would target Mother Gu, who was just pregnant at that time. Mother Gu had a miscarriage in that incident. Later on, some other things happened. There were even rumors that Father Yi and Mother Gu had an abnormal relationship. When Father Gu and Mother Gu were not together yet, the three of them were very close. After that incident, he felt very guilty and could not help but care about Mother Gu. Because of this, rumors spread everywhere. Father Yi and Father Gu's relationship became more and more distant. In the end, Father Gu took Mother Gu far away and ran to this remote military zone. Shisheng wanted to comment on the melodramatic plot. However, he thought that it was not right. Father Yi was the one who caused Mother Gu's miscarriage, but she was fine. The rumors that followed only needed to be clarified. Even if Father Gu hated Father Yi, he did not have to bring people to this place. There might be more to the incident that happened that year. Shisheng analyzed the situation according to the situation at that time. The most likely reason was that the situation was not right at that time. Something might have happened to Father Gu in the capital. It might affect the Gu family, or it might affect Father Yi. He did not understand what these big shots were thinking. He would just focus on showing off. For the next few days, Father Yi came to visit every day. He was determined to marry Shisheng as his daughter-in-law. Mr. Gu had also said that it was impossible for her to marry Yichen unless he married into the family. Yichen did not have any objections. Anyway, it was fine as long as he could marry his little girl. As a result, Father Yi and Father Gu had a big quarrel and parted on bad terms. Father Yi did not have much time left and could not stay in the military zone for long. After a stalemate with Father Gu, he gave in and agreed to let Yichen marry into the family, but the wedding had to be held in the capital. Because of this, Father Yi and Father Gu quarreled again. How could a son-in-law hold a wedding in the man's house? But Father Yi also said that old Master Gu was also in the capital. Father Gu was a native of the capital, so why was it held in the man's house? Mr. Gu was speechless. Asterisk son-in-law ha 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 ha. Chapter 1239. After sending Father Yi away, Shisheng went to say goodbye to the group of naughty kids from the special training camp. They had passed the assessment, and were now going to the capital to report and officially start their journey. A group of people sat in a circle on the playground and talked about what they had experienced in the past 2 years. These 2 years were like a dream for them. It was certain that they had suffered a lot. How could they learn without suffering? Instructor, thank you very much. If it weren't for you, maybe I would still be an ordinary soldier. Shisheng glanced at him. You are still an ordinary soldier now. You can't go to the sky. The man was not convinced and clenched his fist. Sooner or later I can. Shisheng. Instructor, can we meet again in the future? Instructor. In the end, a large group of people cried and were drunk all over the ground. On the last day of the special training, after the special training camp, Father Gu did not allow Shisheng to go to the military area again, and asked him to stay at home with Mother Gu. Father Gu said to Shisheng that, in the future, the Yi family will be yours. You can be a rich wife and learn from your mother. Don't be like a boy all day. Shisheng. Exum? Father Gu. Do you know that you want to take over the Yi family? Xiaolan, why is it so noisy outside? Mother Gu's voice sounded from inside. Shisheng walked from the yard to the door and looked outside. He saw a large group of people coming towards them. The leader was a woman who looked a little mean. It's here. Oh, Mrs. Gu, you have to make a decision for us. She started to howl before she got close. The guard standing outside immediately stepped forward to block the man. The woman sat directly on the ground. If Mrs. Gu doesn't make a decision for us, we can't live. Oh, why is my life so hard? Mother Gu came out from inside and looked a little unhappy. Why are they here again? Gu Nianji's mother was always gentle to everyone, and rarely showed such an expression. Do you know them? Shisheng supported Mother Gu. Su Mei's family came to look for relatives. They came once a few days ago, but Su Mei didn't recognize them. Later, they came to me. This is Su Mei's family matter. Tell me, what can I do if you bring it to me? Su Mei's best relative was here. Go back and rest. I'll handle it. Mrs. Gu shook her head. How can you do that? Mom, I've been in the special training camp. Can't I solve this little problem? Shisheng comforted Mrs. Gu. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. You have a weak heart. If anything happens to you, how am I going to explain it to Dad? Go in. Shisheng pushed Mrs. Gu into the house. She turned around and walked out of the yard, closing the door behind her. Shisheng did not approach them. He only instructed the police officer to contact Hiyu. Hiyu came back around the same time as her, so he probably didn't know about this yet. There was nothing wrong with letting him deal with his wife's top-notch relative. This group of people was making a ruckus here, and very soon, there were people surrounding them and pointing at them. They were either mocking and ridiculing them or watching a good show. Su Mei is too much. She doesn't even recognize her own family now that she's rich. If I had a daughter like her, I'd be furious too. Su Mei is also ruthless. She drove out such a big family just like that. If it were me, I wouldn't be so ruthless. I really didn't expect that. Su Mei usually doesn't look like such a ruthless person. There were people watching, and this group of people was either crying or cursing. In short, Su Mei was a vicious daughter who didn't recognize her own family now that she was rich. The police officer quickly found Hiyu. Hiyu had seen Su Mei's mother once, so he recognized her. As for the others, he didn't recognize them, so he could only help Su Mei's mother on the ground. Mom, why are you here? Su Mei's mother cried and complained with snot and tears. Oh, son-in-law, your daughter-in-law is too much. She doesn't recognize me as her mother now. I have no choice but to come to the commander's wife to help me. Hiyu frowned. How could Su Mei do such a thing? Commander He. Shisheng went down the steps in the courtyard. This is your family's business. You can make a fuss behind closed doors, but don't cause trouble for others. Su Mei's mother immediately screamed. Who is this little girl? Why is she talking like that? What's wrong with asking the commander's wife to help us? Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Help? Why should other people help you with your family's business? Are you going to pay them? Damn it, this group of idiots. This was the reform and opening up, and everyone was equal. This group of people had nothing to do with Mrs. Gu. Why should she help them make the female lead hate them? Su Mei's mother's face changed when she heard about money. She glared at Shisheng and pointed at him. You, Mom. Hiyu had a headache whenever he saw Shisheng. He quickly pulled Su Mei's mother and said in a low voice, This is Commander Gu's daughter. The commander's wife can't do anything about this. Let's go back and talk. Shisheng looked at Hiyu coldly. Commander He, I don't want this to happen again. My mother is in poor health. If anything happens to her, you won't be able to take responsibility. Hiyu glanced at Shisheng and suppressed his anger. I'll take care of it. Su Mei's mother's face changed when she heard Hiyu say that Shisheng was the commander's daughter. She cowered and hid behind Hiyu. Hiyu said to go back, so he didn't continue to make a fuss. Su Mei's mother could tell that the little girl in front of her wasn't as easygoing as the commander's wife. When Su Mei got home, she saw her family filling up the room. She looked at Hiyu, who was sitting in the middle. Hiyu looked exhausted. He still had a lot of things to deal with, and now this was happening. Su Mei retracted her gaze and looked at her mother. What are you doing here again? I already gave you money last time. What else do you want? This group of relatives belonged to her body, and they didn't treat the original owner well. Su Mei felt that she had already done right by the original owner, by giving them a sum of money. Xiao Mei, how can you talk to your mother like that? I came to visit you out of goodwill. Why are you being so cold? Su Mei's mother didn't get angry. Instead, she looked aggrieved. Su Mei pointed at the big family. Do you need to bring so many people to visit me out of goodwill? Everyone is here to visit you. Why don't you know what's good for you? A woman holding a child next to Su Mei's mother said. Aunt, Do you even believe your own words? Su-mei sneered. What's your motive this time? Tell me. Su-mei didn't want to see them at all. When she came back just now, those people were pointing at her and making sarcastic remarks. She guessed that they must have done a lot of bad things when she came back. Su-mei's mother smiled. It's like this. Isn't your brother going to marry a wife? I know that you bought a house in town. Can you lend it to your brother as his wedding room? Su-mei's eyes widened. How could they say something like that? Chapter 1240. Su-mei had never mentioned her family to Hiyu, and Hiyu had only met them once. He did not know much about them, so when Su-mei refused to let Su-mei's mother borrow the house, he spoke up for Su-mei's mother. Hiyu was a filial son. He was filial to his family, and thought that he should not favor one over the other. Who knew that the two of them would quarrel because of this? Shisheng could hear them even from outside the courtyard. In the original plot, Hiyu was not around at this time. He had other tasks. When the group of people bullied Su-mei, Hiyu stepped on a colorful cloud and came to save the Cinderella in distress. Little girl, why do you care so much about Hiyu? Yi-chen drove over from the military area. When he saw Shisheng standing outside the military compound, he rolled down the window and stared at her. She seemed to be overly concerned about Hiyu. Although he knew that she wanted to kill him, he was still unhappy. Shisheng walked to the window. Why are you here? Yi-chen was unhappy. Why can't I be here? I haven't seen you for 12 hours. 12 hours was nothing. It was less than a day. Why don't you hang on me? Yi-chen nodded seriously. Sure. Find a rope and hang me up. Shisheng's mouth twitched. You're so big. I can't hang on you. Then hang on me. I can. Yi-chen gestured with his chin. Get in the car. How long do you want to stand here? We're watching a show. Why are you getting in the car? Go back and help Mom cook. She was not leaving until the show was over. Yi-chen's face turned ugly again. Get in the car. Shisheng was speechless. Shisheng sighed and went to the car. She had just sat down when Yi-chen leaned over and kissed her. Then he drove back to the Gu family's courtyard with a dark face. Shisheng was baffled. What's wrong with him again? Yi-chen's face was dark for a long time. When he came in through the window at night, Shisheng felt that it would not end well tonight. Sure enough, Yi-chen kept tormenting her until the middle of the night, but she still had to hold it in. It would be awkward if Mr. and Mrs. Gu heard it. After he was done, Yi-chen turned on the bedside lamp and looked at the Shisheng. Little girl. Shisheng didn't even want to move a finger. The tip of his nose twitched, and he responded softly. Yi-chen reached out and brushed away the strands of hair in front of her forehead, revealing her beautiful eyes. He kissed the space between her eyebrows. Don't look at others, okay? Shisheng was silent for a few seconds. Then gouge my eyes out. Damn it, she just didn't like him touching other women. He couldn't even look at it. I can't bear to. Shisheng opened his eyes. You really thought about it? An unknown emotion flashed across Yi-chen's eyes. Little girl, I won't hurt you. He couldn't do it. Even if she cried out in pain on the bed, he would carefully endure it and wait for her to get used to it before he started. Shisheng rolled his eyes and closed them again. If you had such thoughts, I would have killed you long ago. Yi-chen pulled her into his arms and his low voice echoed in the room. Do you believe in past and present lives in this world? Shisheng gave an ambiguous I've been having dreams recently. There are many people from different dynasties in them. I can't see their faces clearly, but I have a feeling that it's you. Shisheng opened his eyes slightly. Was his memory starting to recover? Shisheng waited for a few seconds before replying. If you believe it, then there is. If you don't, then there isn't. Yi-chen's breathing was steady. He touched Shisheng's earlobe. She seemed to know something. If she didn't know, what he said just now was enough to make her explode. Her possessiveness towards him was no less than his. Could it be that she was really a vixen? Yi-chen was amused by this thought. He wouldn't mind even if she was a white vixen, let alone a vixen. Yi-chen turned off the lights and hugged Shisheng in the dark. His breathing gradually stabilized. After a long time, a voice was heard in the room. I believe it. Sheng moved and wrapped his arms around his waist. After that, there was no more movement. The war in Su Mei's family was getting more and more intense. Her family refused to leave, and even spread rumors about how unfilial Su Mei was. It was a bad influence. He was not having a good time because he did not complete the mission given by Jiang Jianhua. He was bullied in the military, and had to watch the family war when he returned home. Recently, Su Mei was either quarreling with him, or giving him the cold shoulder. No matter what he said, she would sneer at him. Hiyu's anger was accumulating bit by bit. Therefore, when Hiyu received a new mission, he agreed without hesitation. When he left, he did not even tell Su Mei. Su Mei only found out that he was out on a mission when she asked. This undoubtedly caused Su Mei to feel displeased. Su Mei's family war was won by her family in the end. To put it bluntly, Su Mei was just an ordinary person. Her golden finger came from the future. She was familiar with the direction of some industries, and could seize the opportunity in advance. However, her family was unreasonable. Without Hiyu's support and the two of them quarreled, Su Mei's state of mind was naturally very different. This was the butterfly effect. Changing one detail could change a person's ending. After her family got the courtyard, Su Mei calmed herself down, and continued to take care of her shop. However, these people did not stop for long and came to her door again. Let me tell you, Su Mei. We also have a share of this shop. How can you monopolize it? That's right, Su Mei. You can't forget your roots. Look at how good your business is now. You have to help your family, right? Su Mei. I was the one who ran errands for you so that you could marry Hiyu. Now that your life is better, you can't forget me as your aunt. These people came to Su Mei's shop and demanded that Su Mei split the money. Otherwise, they would let them take care of it. Sheng came to buy something for that prodigal Yi Qin. He happened to hear someone talking about it, and ran over to watch the show. If she met this group of outrageous relatives, she would definitely kill them all. At this moment, Su Mei was surrounded in the middle. She looked at the people around her with a cold expression. Sheng guessed that she was about to explode. Sure enough, when Su Mei's aunt pushed her, she suddenly retaliated. She grabbed the stool beside her and roared, "Get out! Su Mei, do you still want to hit people? Do you still have any respect for us elders? How can you be so unfilial?" Su Mei's threat was ignored and they continued to talk nonsense. Su Mei was furious. She threw the stool at the person who spoke. At this moment, the people who were surrounding her immediately dispersed and ran out of the shop. They kept shouting, "She hit people, she hit people." Su Mei stood at the door and pointed at the group of outrageous relatives. "Let me tell you, don't even think about getting a single cent from me." Chapter 1241. Everyone in the town knew about Su Mei's incident. In the next few days, those crazy relatives kept making trouble outside her store. Su Mei called the police, but it didn't work. They didn't do anything, just make trouble outside. The police came and at most persuaded them to leave. They could be persuaded to leave once, but could they be persuaded to leave every time? Su Mei's business couldn't continue. Suddenly, she received a call from Huang Meilan, saying that they couldn't continue the cooperation. Her main income came from the cooperation with Huang Meilan. At this time, Huang Meilan suddenly said that they couldn't cooperate. Su Mei immediately bought a ticket to find Huang Meilan. "Sister Huang, didn't we cooperate well? Why did you suddenly go back on your word?" Huang Meilan also frowned inside. "Xiao Mei, I'm really sorry. Dongfeng department store is now crowded by Xingji. My economy is also very bad." "Sister Huang, didn't you make money before?" "I'm sure." Huang Meilan shook her head. "Xiao Mei, you're still too young. Some things can't be done just because you want to." The expression on Su Mei's face suddenly froze. Huang Meilan helplessly patted Su Mei's shoulder. "I can't afford to offend the Yi family. Xiao Mei, take care. I'll pay you the liquidated damages." This little girl was very brave. Unfortunately, she offended someone she shouldn't offend. Yi family? Which Yi family? Su Mei's mind turned back and forth. Suddenly, a face appeared. That man. Why did he want to deal with her? That's right, Gulan, it's her. It must be because of her. Su Mei returned to the town in a daze and found that her store had been sold. Su Mei's aunt found the property certificate of the store in Su Mei's residence. While Su Mei was away, she urged Su Mei's mother to go to her residence and take the property certificate. In this era, it didn't matter if the owner came or not. Su Mei immediately called the police. But the police said that it was her family who sold the house, so it was legal. However, she could hire a lawyer to sue. If she won, she might be able to get the money back. That group of family members had already taken the money back to their hometown. Even the house she gave out before was sold by them. Su Mei was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Su Mei walked all the way back to the military family compound. When she looked up, she saw two people coming out. The man was dressed casually, and his handsome face had a ruffian smile. As he was talking, the girl next to him kicked him. He smiled and jumped away, his face full of indulgence. The two of them were so compatible. Su Mei stood in the middle of the road in a daze as she watched the two of them approach. When they got closer, the smirk on the man's face was gone, leaving only coldness. Just like that time in the cave, his entire body was emitting an unapproachable aura, making people shudder in fear. Su Mei didn't step aside. She opened her cracked lips. "Gulan, why are you targeting me?" Shisheng paused and smiled. "I don't like you. You and I are already married. You were a mistress when you pestered him. Now that you have a boyfriend, why are you still targeting me?" What was wrong with her defending her position as the wife? Shisheng could clearly feel the murderous aura of the person beside him. "But that's the original owner's fault. I won't take it." Shisheng squeezed Yi Chen's hand. Yi Chen glanced at her, and the murderous aura around him slowly faded away. Shisheng heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Su Mei. "Miss Su, be reasonable. What happened to you now has nothing to do with me. Your family is the one who sold the shop. If you have a grudge, you should take it out on them." Su Mei tightened her grip on her clothes. "Are you the one who told Sister Huang not to work with me? Huang Mylin?" She hadn't seen her recently. When did she tell her not to work with the female lead? Shisheng tilted his head and looked at Yi Chen. The latter smiled as if he was waiting for a compliment. Shisheng. Was she going to take the blame again? What the F***ck? Shisheng took a deep breath. "Even if I did it, what can you do to me?" "You." Su Mei was at a loss for words. What could she do to her? She couldn't do anything to her. Su Mei gritted her teeth and her eyes were full of determination. "I won't be defeated by you." She turned around and ran into her courtyard, leaving Shisheng with the tragic figure of a warrior who would never return. "Why are you picking on her?" Shisheng asked the person beside him after Su Mei's figure had completely disappeared. "Weren't you the one who picked on her first?" Yi Chen asked back. "I'm just following my wife's footsteps. You used to make things difficult for them. Now I'm making things difficult for them. Aren't you happy?" "Them?" Shisheng raised his eyebrows. "What did you do to Hiyu?" "I gave him a little beauty." Shisheng. "What an interesting choice of shoes you're making." Yi Chen held Shisheng's hand and pulled her towards him. His voice was overflowing with danger. "Little girl, let's settle the score now." "Ah, I seem to have forgotten something. I'll go back and get it." Why did she have to take the blame for the original owner? She refused. She didn't want to take the blame. Yi Chen didn't stop her and followed her back. Shisheng felt that it was more dangerous to go back. Mother Gu had taken the initiative to send food to Father Gu, so that they could cultivate their relationship. She hadn't returned yet. Shisheng was about to slip away when Yi Chen grabbed her waist and brought her back to the courtyard. They closed the door and settled the score. Shisheng hated the original owner's rotten peach blossoms. Su Mei said that she wouldn't be defeated. If she could do it once, she could do it again. However, just as she was starting to look better, Hiyu, who had been missing for a long time, suddenly sent a letter back. Or rather, the letter wasn't from Hiyu, but from Hiyu's new wife. When Su Mei and Hiyu got married, Hiyu was very unhappy and didn't register their marriage. Later, Shisheng interfered and Su Mei and Hiyu had feelings for each other, so they didn't register their marriage. So now that Hiyu suddenly had another wife, it wasn't considered bigamy. Su Mei was about to explode when she received the letter. She put down the things in her hands, and went to look for Hiyu. She didn't know what Hiyu had experienced in such a short period of time, but he had changed completely. If it was a sharp sword that had not been discovered before, then it was now a useless sword that had been polished to the point that it had lost its sharpness. Faced with Sumei's questions, Hiyu either responded with silence or told her to go back and not look for him again. Hiyu, I thought you were different. Sumei's eyes were a little red. Goodbye, Sumei. Hiyu stood up from his seat, left the shop, and got into a car outside. Sumei chased after him, but only saw the exhaust from the car. Why did everything turn out like this? *1. Don't ask me what they worked together about. I don't know either. The top 10 unsolved mysteries continued to increase. 2. I don't know if the person in question was alive or not, but it doesn't matter. It's just a story. It's not true. 3. Hiyu's change is related to the weakening of his male lead halo. The weaker the halo, the easier it is for him to change. Chapter 1242. Shisheng saw Hiyu at the wedding. He was standing with a lady. That lady did not look like a good person. She would scold anyone who looked at Hiyu. Hiyu's eyebrows were furrowed. What did you do to him? Shisheng lowered his voice and asked Yi Chun, who was standing beside him. You care about him a lot? Shisheng rolled his eyes. Why don't you kill him? Of course I care about him. I care about whether he's dead or not. Yi Chun's gaze passed through the crowd and landed on Hiyu. He said meaningfully, it's more painful to be alive. I think it's easier to kill him. If I don't kill him, I'll cause trouble. I'm scared. I don't like to kill people. You can hire someone to do it. The best man Xiaosheng turned pale. These two people were actually discussing such a terrible thing as killing people at the wedding. It's a wedding. It's a wedding. It's the most romantic moment of my life. Are you planning to wash the wedding with blood? Fortunately, what Xiaosheng was worried about did not happen. The wedding went smoothly. Well, the only thing that was not harmonious was that Father Gu and Father Yi almost quarreled at the wedding. No matter what grudges they had been treating each other coldly for so many years. Suddenly, they had to get along well. They quarreled intensely. Suddenly, someone came to report that Shisheng and Yi Chun had slipped away from the wedding. They could only put aside their internal conflicts for the time being. Sumei stood outside the hotel and looked at the wedding photos placed at the entrance. Her hands were tightly clenched into fists. Gulan, what right do you have to ruin my life like this? When Sumei was about to leave, she saw Hiyu coming out from the corner of her eye. She paused and immediately chased after Hiyu. Hiyu walked very quickly. Sumei chased him to an alley before she caught up with him. Hiyu stood at the other end of the alley. He looked over and frowned. He seemed unhappy and impatient. Why are you still here? Sumei ran forward and opened her arms to hug Hiyu. Hiyu, tell me, do you have any difficulties? Hiyu pushed her away with a gloomy expression. I don't have any difficulties. Stop pestering me. Hiyu. Sumei hugged him even tighter. Hiyu frowned and pushed Sumei away with more force. Sumei staggered and fell to the ground. Hiyu didn't even look at her. He strode away, leaving Sumei with only his back to her. She gritted her teeth, stood up from the ground, and limped after Hiyu. Hiyu went to the main street and bought 2 kinds of pastries from a stall. Then he took the pastries and walked back. Sumei stood at the corner of the street, watching Hiyu disappear into the crowd. Was he in such a hurry just to buy pastries for his new wife? Sumei returned to the military family compound in a daze. This place. How could she stay any longer? She left the military family compound under the gaze of a group of people who were waiting to watch a good show. She still had some money on hand, so she rented a house in the county town. After being dispirited for a long time, Sumei pulled herself together again. Although Sumei's female lead halo had faded a little, it hadn't completely disappeared. If she wanted to do business, it would always be easier than others. However, that group of extreme relatives refused to leave. At first, they wanted to forcefully take it, but later on, they even resorted to snatching it. She didn't know what they had bribed the police, but when Sumei reported the case, they said that it was a family matter, and that they wouldn't care if no one died. With this group of people around, how could Sumei do business? She had no choice but to leave and go outside. 10 years later, after the millennium, the real estate industry rose rapidly. The price of land rose day by day. In T-City, there was a large piece of land, but the owner couldn't be contacted. The custodian said that this person hadn't appeared since he bought the land. After so many years, the original contact number was no longer available. President Su, we still can't contact him. Sumei left that small county town and came to T-City. She started from scratch and reached the scale of her business today. She had suffered a lot, but she still did it. She became a person above others. Sumei's eyes had the sharpness of a businesswoman after many years of polishing. What did the Ministry of Land and Resources say? The buyer has gone through the proper procedures. The Ministry of Land and Resources didn't say anything. Sumei knocked on the table. If we can't buy that piece of land, we have to change the land plans we bought previously. Think of a way. We must contact someone. Yes. Sumei suddenly stopped him. Wait a minute. Let me see that person's information. The man went out and came back with a document. Sumei was stunned when she saw it. Gulan. How could it be her? She hadn't heard much about her in the past few years. But the young master of the Yi family often appeared in the newspapers. He didn't continue to be in the army. Instead, he took over the family business. After he took over, the Yi family grew bigger and became a household name. Old memories suddenly came to her mind. She had worked hard for so many years, but she still couldn't beat him. President Su? Sumei took a deep breath. Go and contact the people from the Delon group. Ah. The man was stunned. He didn't understand why the topic suddenly changed. Do we have any projects with the Delon group? Compared to them, the Delon group was a big company. Why did President Su contact them? This person. Sumei felt a little out of breath. After a while she said, is the wife of the president of the Delon group. If possible, Sumei didn't want to contact the Shisheng. But it wasn't easy for her to get the land. If she just gave it up, she would lose a lot. What? The wife of the president of the Delon group? She bought the land so early? Why did it sound so surreal? Sumei didn't want to explain more. She waved her hand. Don't use my name. The man rushed to the headquarters of the Delon group in Beijing without stopping. I'm sorry, sir. We have asked our superiors. Our group doesn't have any land resources in T-City. You may have made a mistake. I hope you can go back and verify it. The man handed the information presented by the Ministry of Land and Resources to the front desk. It's not your group. It's the wife of the president. The front desk looked at him and took the information. She smiled. I'm sorry. The wife of the president is not in the country at the moment. Then can't you contact her? I really have something important to talk to her about. The front desk smiled politely. I'm sorry. We can't contact her. Then can you give me a way to contact her? I'm sorry. I can't. The man's face was full of frustration. Thinking about it, the wife of the president of a big group was not someone he could meet whenever he wanted. What's the matter? A voice interrupted from the side. I heard you mention the wife of the president a few times just now. Did young Master Yi make Xiaolon angry again? Mr. Xiao. The front desk was even more polite. This gentleman wants to see the wife of the president. Xiaoxing looked at the man. What's the situation? The front desk told Xiaoxing what happened. Xiaoxing asked the front desk to bring the phone over. He dialed the number of the president's office on the top floor. The other side picked up very quickly. Xiaolon, when did you buy the land? He's here looking for you now. Hashtag today's ticket for the taste of Romania. Hashtag it's the end of the month. See if you have any monthly tickets in your pockets. T to the power of T. Hashtag work hard. And send me to the top 10. T to the power of T. Hashtag. Chapter 1243. Shisheng met with that person. As soon as he heard the name of the company, he knew who was behind it. Mrs. Yi, what price are you willing to pay? Tell me the price and I will return it to the company. The land is not for sale. We are not short of money. Shisheng sat down like a big boss. That person choked. Was Delon Group short of money? Of course not. But Mrs. Yi, this land is useless to you. As long as the price is within the range we can accept, we can buy it. Who said I am useless? Can't I keep it as a cemetery? Shisheng sneered. Such a good location for a cemetery. She was worthy of being the rich wife of the CEO. She was not something an ordinary person like him could compare with. That person talked for a long time, but Shisheng only said a few words. Not for sale. Willful. Have money. Keep it for a cemetery. In the end, that person could only go back to report. It was not that he was incompetent. It was that the CEO's wife was stubborn. Sumei had no choice. She could only ask people to redesign and bypass that piece of land. However, when Sumei's project was about to be completed, workers suddenly began to come in and out of that piece of land. Was it about to start construction? Sumei asked people to inquire about what they were going to build. But the people who inquired for a long time didn't get any information. Those workers coming in and out either didn't know anything or kept silent. Mrs. Su, I have inquired. I have inquired. They are going to build a cemetery there. What? Sumei stood up. Say it again. That person gasped and said with a strange expression, build a cemetery. Is the information accurate? That person nodded. I just met an acquaintance. He told me. It can't be wrong. Gulan. Sumei's eyes were burning with anger. She was building an office building. If she built a cemetery in the middle, who would dare to work here? The most important thing was that her project was almost finished. It was impossible to give it up. Sumei reported this matter to the relevant department. That piece of land was almost in the city center. If Shisheng wanted to build a cemetery here, T-City would definitely not agree. That was a prime location. How could it be used to build a cemetery? However, this group of people's opposition had no effect. The construction of the cemetery finally started, and it was a high-end building. The original owner's wish was to live better than the female lead. She didn't say that she wanted to kill her. Then he would anger her to death. When Sumei heard the news, she almost had a heart attack. The construction speed of the cemetery was very fast. When Sumei's project was almost completed, the cemetery was also almost finished. Sumei had seen a bird's-eye view of the cemetery. Trees were everywhere, and gardens of different shapes were interconnected. There were even fountains and pavilions. If they didn't know that this was a cemetery, no one would think that this was a cemetery. However, no matter how high-end the cemetery was, it was still a cemetery. Not to mention selling Sumei's office building, very few people even came to rent it. They were all businessmen, and graveyards didn't represent good luck. Everyone was wary of them. Sumei had not been able to recoup her capital for a long time. She would definitely lose money. She could not get back the money she had invested. Even if she lowered the rent, very few people would come to rent it. Sumei was so angry that she bought a ticket to Beijing to find the Shisheng. When Sumei stood downstairs of Delon Group, she suddenly felt a little timid in her heart. She looked up at the tall building in front of her. This building belonged to Delon Group. Just as she was hesitating whether to enter or not, a voice suddenly sounded from behind her. Sumei. Sumei turned her head and saw an unfamiliar woman. Her makeup was exquisite, and she was dressed very fashionably. She was holding a 5-year-old boy's hand. Sumei knew who the child was at one glance. It's really you. The woman held the boy's hand and walked closer. I thought I saw wrongly. I don't know you. Sumei's eyes were cold. Since that time, she had never looked for Hiyu again. Since Hiyu didn't want her, why should she pester him? Sumei thought that she would forget that man. However, after so many years, the men around her had stopped and left, but no one could enter her heart like Hiyu. Miss Su, you haven't seen me before. It's normal that you don't know me. The woman smiled coquettishly. But you know my husband. His name is Hiyu. The woman was obviously showing off. Miss Su, you seem to be doing well. I'm relieved. I really let you down back then, but Miss Su is magnanimous. You won't hold it against me. Sumei stabbed back coldly. There's no need to hold a grudge against a mistress. The woman's expression changed slightly. After a moment, she returned to normal. Oh, by the way, Miss Sue, this is my husband's son. Darling, call me Auntie. The boy called out crisply. Sue May didn't want to see the woman showing off. She walked towards the entrance of Delon Group. She entered the entrance, but the front desk didn't let her see the Shisheng. She had to make an appointment. Sue May didn't even have the Shisheng's contact information. How could she make an appointment? Sue May came out and saw the woman standing outside. Her face darkened. What was this woman trying to do? He was already her husband. Did she have to show off in front of her? Miss Sue, I see that you're here for business. Do you have a place to stay? What do you want? Sue May was already angry. Her tone was a little harsh. You and I have nothing to do with each other. Do you have to show off in front of me? What's the point? Miss Sue, why are you so angry? I don't mean anything else. The woman felt wronged. She reached out and tried to pull Sue May. I know Miss Sue is still holding a grudge about what happened in the past. I'm sorry. Miss Sue, you can ask for any compensation you want. I'll do my best to make it up to you. Sue May didn't push the woman away. Instead, she sneered. Okay, I want to see Delon Group's Gulan. Can you help me make an appointment with her? The woman was stunned for a moment. Then she recovered quickly. Delon Group CEO's wife? Mr. Yi doesn't like her to appear in the public eye. So, except for the people around her, very few people can make an appointment with her. Miss Sue, why are you looking for her? This has nothing to do with you. Didn't you say you want to make it up to me? You can't even do such a simple request? Why are you talking to me hypocritically about making it up to me? After so many years, Sue May had learned to use all the conditions she could. A trace of disgust flashed in the woman's eyes. She retracted her hand. I'll find a way to make an appointment for you. Miss Sue, leave your contact information. I'll inform you when the appointment is made. Sue May gave her a business card. The woman held the business card and watched Sue May leave. A moment later, the business card in her hand was deformed. She glanced at a car in the distance and unfolded the business card. She put it back into her handbag and carried the boy to the car. The woman opened the car door and put the boy in the back. Then she got into the front passenger seat. You guess who I saw just now? The man glanced at her and remained silent. Compared to 10 years ago, the man's face was even more vicious. Chapter 1244. Sue May had been trying to find a way to meet Shisheng. She had been waiting in front of Delon Group for a few days and finally met Shisheng. She came out of the gate alone and stood at the door as if she was waiting for someone. She was even prettier than 10 years ago. She was beautiful and delicate, like a flower that was being carefully cared for. She was indeed a flower that was being cared for. She heard that Yi Chun had destroyed a collaboration worth hundreds of millions just because the boss of the other party took a few more glances at her. It was fine if they wanted to work with Delon, but they had to ignore their boss's wife. If they didn't want others to look at them, they shouldn't have brought them out. But what important occasion did this boss have to bring his wife to? Madame Yi was so beautiful. How could they not take a few more glances at her? Sue May thought about what had happened to her in the past few years. It was like heaven and earth compared to her. Sue May took a deep breath and ran over. Gulan. Sue May was a little embarrassed when she first started her business, but the company's situation had gradually improved over the past few years. She had also started to pay attention to her appearance. After all, she was the female lead. Even if she wore a business suit, she would still be eye-catching. When Shisheng stood beside her, Shisheng looked more like a rich young lady who had not experienced much. On the other hand, Sue May was like a red plum that had experienced wind and rain, but was not afraid of the cold. She had a different charm. The corner of Shisheng's lips lifted slightly. Oh, Miss Sue. Sue May inexplicably felt that Shisheng's smile was ironic. The coldness in her eyes froze and she said in an unfriendly tone, Gulan, it has been so many years. Why are you still holding on to me? Miss Sue, are you talking about the cemetery? Shisheng raised his eyebrows. That's my land. Miss Sue, you can't control what I want to do, right? You're doing it on purpose. That piece of land had been left there for so many years. Why did you want to build a cemetery now? What grudge do you have against me? What grudge? Shisheng paused. Well, Miss Su, do you still remember when you were kidnapped? Hearing Shisheng suddenly mention the past, she was a little absent-minded. It had been so many years. Do you know what would have happened if I hadn't escaped in advance? Su Mei's memories flooded in like a floodgate valve. Her expression changed rapidly. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "Didn't you also not save me in the cave?" "Why should I save you? Gulan was kidnapped because of you. Did I ask you to go to the mountain?" Shisheng tilted his head. "But I'm also very curious. Why did you go to the mountain?" The female lead's appearance on the mountain was simply inexplicable. It didn't make sense at all. Su Mei did not answer Shisheng's question. "You were the one who came looking for trouble with me. If you didn't come looking for me, how could you have been kidnapped?" "Fine, I'm not going to talk about this with you. Anyway, you're beautiful and you're right. I'm just a player who's doing quests and breaking up couples. What's the point of caring about these things?" Shisheng saw that Yi Chen's car had arrived and walked past Su Mei. "Don't think about the land. I'm going to build the cemetery. This is my land. No one has the right to tell me what to build. There's nothing wrong with that." Su Mei caught up with Shisheng and reached out to grab him. "Gulan, don't go overboard. I can do anything if you push me too far. The worst thing is death. Come on." Shisheng shook off Su Mei and sneered. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Yi Chen rushed out of the car before the car came to a stop. He pulled Shisheng into his arms and asked Shisheng in a low voice, "Are you okay? When have you ever seen me being taken advantage of?" Yi Chen touched Shisheng's head. "Don't talk to irrelevant people. It's a waste of your time. If he had time, he would rather spend it with him. Even if he did not do anything, he would be in a good mood." Su Mei froze on the spot. Compared to 10 years ago, she actually felt afraid when she saw this man now. Yi Chen hugged Shisheng and got into the car. Before getting into the car, he glanced at Su Mei and then closed the door. Before Su Mei and Shisheng could reach a conclusion, Yi Chen came out and took him away. Su Mei had been waiting for so many days in vain. She returned to the hotel and lay on the bed tiredly. Her mind was filled with images of the past. Her mind was groggy and her consciousness gradually drifted away. She seemed to have returned to the explosion that year. She saw the explosion, chaos, and cries in that explosion. Gulan died. Her life was completely different from what it was now. She was with Hiyu and had a happy life with a cute child. The images in her dream suddenly began to shatter. Su Mei woke up from her dream. Buzz. In the empty room, there was only a buzzing sound. She touched her forehead. How could she have such a dream? The dream was the opposite of reality. In the dream, Gulan died, but in reality, she was still alive. Su Mei took a while to reach for her phone. "Hello. Miss Su, I helped you make an appointment with Madame Yi. A car will pick you up at 10 o'clock tomorrow." A woman's voice came through the phone. Su Mei's confused mind suddenly became clear. She held the phone tightly. "Okay." The woman said a few words and hung up the phone. Su Mei looked at the phone in a daze. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Su Mei got in the car that picked her up. The car drove all the way to the remote suburbs. Only Su Mei and the driver were in the car. Su Mei looked outside and asked the driver in front, "Where are we going?" "Miss Su, Madame Yi doesn't like crowded places, so the meeting place is at a villa in the suburbs." The driver replied. "I see." Su Mei nodded as if she understood. She didn't continue to ask and lowered her head to press the phone. The car drove for a long time. It was about noon when they arrived at the villa mentioned by the driver. The woman was at the door of the villa. She smiled and welcomed her in. "Miss Su, you've had a hard time on the road. But you know Madame Yi is not easy to meet. You have to follow her wishes." Su Mei didn't say anything. She entered the villa with the woman with a cold face. The woman led Su Mei to the dining room. "Madame Yi hasn't arrived yet. Let's eat first." "You really made an appointment with Gulan?" The woman made a guilty face as if she really wanted to make it up to her. "Don't worry. I won't lie to you." Su Mei looked around and sat at the table. The dishes were served one after another. The dishes were very rich. Su Mei took a few bites with her chopsticks and put them down without any appetite. "When will Gulan arrive?" I'll help you ask. The woman quickly got up and went to the other side of the dining room to make a call. She hung up the phone and came back. Madam, you will be here soon. Su Mei seemed to be a little impatient. She grabbed the glass on the table and took a sip. Why are you looking at me? Su Mei put down the glass and looked at the woman. A trace of panic flashed across the woman's delicate face. She quickly took the glass on the table and took a sip to hide her panic. Asterisk, this is a fake group. Yi-chen. I won't let you sleep today. Shisheng. Cold why? Yi-chen uncle. Shisheng. Draws sword, is Uncle Defu still around? Yi-chen was speechless. My uncle ran away from home with little Yi-chen. Shisheng. Little fairy, upstairs don't drive. Let me ask for a proper ticket. Shisheng. Angry get lost. Little fairy. Your wife won't let you sleep. Why are you yelling at me? I'm just asking for a ticket. Do you think it's easy for me? Cherub. Eating melon seeds and watching the show. Chapter 1245. The woman moved her stiff neck, and her mind went blank. What happened to her? Where was this place? You're awake? The woman heard the voice and looked up. She widened her eyes in disbelief. You. Why are you fine? What did you do to me? Let me go. The woman realized that she was tied up and struggled to stand up. Su Mei, let me go. Su Mei sat in the dark corner of the room. Her voice was emotionless. I just made you drink what you wanted me to drink. She walked out from the dark. I've been in the business world for 10 years. Do you think you can fool me with your little tricks? She and Gulan had just met, and Gulan wasn't someone that this woman could invite. She still had some common sense. She came to see what this woman wanted to do. My men are all outside. Do you think you can escape? The woman suddenly calmed down. He would be here soon and she had to stall for time. Su Mei, you're just a loser. I could take you away 10 years ago. 10 years later, I can still make you lose everything. Su Mei's face was a little distorted. You're already with Hiyu. Why do you still want to deal with me? So what if we're together? She's always thinking about you. Even in bed, she calls your name. I'm going to get rid of you today. The woman said fiercely. Do you know how much I've hated you for the past 10 years? Su Mei was stunned. Then she laughed. You hate me? What right do you have to hate me? Weren't you the one who took him away from me? That's because you're useless. You can't blame others. The woman sneered. Yes, blame me for being useless. Then today, you'll have a taste of what you've prepared for me. The woman suddenly panicked. What do you want to do? Su Mei opened the door. Don't you know what you want to do to me? If you dare to touch me, my family and he will not let you off. The woman screamed. Su Mei, come back. Do you want to die? Su Mei walked out of the door and a man came in. The door closed slowly and the woman's scream came through the gap. It was especially ear-piercing. By the time Hiyu found the woman, it was already too late. Although she wasn't injured, her body was already tainted. The woman hated Su Mei and asked her family to help her suppress Su Mei. Su Mei, who was already in a difficult situation, became even more difficult because of this. The woman hated Hiyu as well, and didn't look at him kindly. Back then, Hiyu had been sent to the woman's side to obtain a piece of information. However, he had been drugged by her and she had something on him. All these years he had been tolerating it. He didn't know if it was for his own future or for Su Mei. In short, he silently endured it. But at this moment, seeing the woman's crazy appearance, Hiyu's suppressed anger for so many years couldn't help but erupt. Perhaps Hiyu's sudden outburst triggered the woman. She ran out of the hospital. Miss Su, you have to consider this condition carefully. The man's hand touched Su Mei's thigh under the table, and he smiled wretchedly. Marry me. Don't say that you want investments. I'll even pluck the stars for you if you want them. Su Mei stood up immediately. Director Liu, I'll take my leave. Mr. Liu grabbed Su Mei and pressed her onto the table. Su Mei, what are you pretending for? I heard that you have many men around you and have been played by many of them, right? How about this? Accompany me for one night and I'll invest. How about that? Mr. Liu couldn't help but rub and pinch her body, his breathing rapid. Su Mei's face was filled with disgust. She lifted her leg and kicked Mr. Liu, pushing him away forcefully. She took the wine bottle on the table and hit Mr. Liu's head. Mr. Liu cried out in pain and covered his head with his hand. Blood seeped through the gaps between his fingers. Su Mei tugged at her clothes, turned around and left the private room. She rushed out of the restaurant. After leaving the restaurant, Su Mei ran along the road for a distance. She gradually slowed down and walked forward with a numb expression. These days, all the men she met were like this. They didn't even finish a sentence, and they immediately went to bed with her. Su Mei felt that the sounds around her were disappearing. Those annoying faces gradually disappeared, and only silence was left. After some time, the annoying noise came again. She heard someone screaming. The person in front of her was waving at her with all his might, his face full of fear. Bang! The world turned upside down. Su Mei felt that she had fallen from the sky and hit the hood of the car. She saw the woman in the car with a crazy expression, and eyes full of hatred. Go to hell, go to hell. Su Mei, go to hell. She seemed to have returned to her previous life. When she died, it was also so peaceful. All of this seemed like a dream to her. Yes, it was a dream. It was time to wake up from this dream. When Hiyu arrived, Su Mei had already died and the woman was detained for intentional injury. The woman was found to be mentally ill. Her family did some work, and the woman was soon fine. Hiyu suppressed all the anger and hatred in his heart, and showed that he wouldn't leave them. When the woman's family finally let down their guard against him, he took the woman to the beach. When everyone found it, they only found the woman's wheelchair and nothing else. For a long time, Yichen stubbornly locked Shisheng and didn't let anyone see him. Shisheng used to think that it was normal for people to be mentally retarded in this world. How was it normal? It was just a late onset of illness. After being beaten up by Shisheng a few times, Yichen felt very wronged, but he still didn't dare to lock Shisheng. However, everyone knew that Madame Yi of the Dilon group was never seen again. Shisheng's health was not good in this life. Yichen stayed by her bedside with tears in his eyes. Shisheng reached out and touched his face. Don't cry. I'm not crying. Yichen held her hand and said stubbornly. Shisheng smiled and untied the watch on his wrist. Don't you believe in past lives? Yichen nodded. I believe that we will be together in our next life. Yes, we will. Wait for me. Shisheng held the watch tightly and waited for death to come. As a veteran player who had experienced death in different ways, this process was familiar. There was no fear or expectation. Yichen seemed to know something and stared at her quietly. The light in front of her slowly disappeared, and Yichen's face became more and more blurred. Shisheng seemed to see the confusion in Yichen's eyes disperse and be filled with clarity. It was a gaze that could see through the whole world. However, Shisheng didn't have the chance to see it clearly. Her eyes were completely dark. Yichen saw that she stopped breathing, and the light on his face slowly dimmed. He was like a plant that needed sunlight. When the sunlight disappeared, all the vitality in his body was taken away, and only darkness was left. Yichen walked to the other side and lay down carefully. He hugged Shisheng and kissed her forehead out of habit. He slowly closed his eyes. I only want to live for you. When the nurse came in, she saw the two of them lying on the hospital bed. They had stopped breathing but their fingers were intertwined. * The 36th world ended. Chapter 1246. When Shisheng returned to the system space, the first thing she did was to check the follow-up. This was her right as the host, so the system showed her the follow-up. On the screen, Yichen did not look like the person she saw. Was it an illusion? Shisheng looked at it several times, but Yichen was still normal. Host. Shisheng sat on the ground. Nothing. She started to fiddle with her watch. The system had not seen her fiddling with that watch for a long time. She took out her tablet and tapped on it a few times. The light in the system space suddenly dimmed. The system was shocked. Host. What are you doing? Shisheng did not answer, and continued tapping on the screen. The system found that it could not see clearly. No, it was scanning her. Was this interference? After a while, the light in the system space returned to normal. Shisheng was already standing in front of the screen. Your master has a habit of peeping. I have to be careful. Master, hey. This host is so scary. Can you take her back? Shisheng held the screen. I can't believe you took back the authority. But it's okay. It's full of viruses. Your master can't control you for the time being. No wonder my master didn't talk to me. She didn't seem to be worried at all. What's the point of fighting for authority like this? What's the point? What's the point? I don't want to participate in the battle between the big bosses. Please let me go. I'm still a baby. Shisheng did not speak, and just stared at the screen. The system was afraid that Shisheng would do something, so it quickly refreshed the information. Anyway, she couldn't control herself now. It had to send this pervert away quickly. Name, Shisheng morality points. 390000 health points, 60 points, 81400 mission grade. A mission score, 83 hidden mission. Completed hidden mission reward, 2000 points side mission. Completed side mission reward, 2000 points item list. Queen's Crown, Ghost King's Heart, Dark Knight, Kirin Blood, Phoenix Tail Feather. Why didn't my morality points change? Are they stuck? The system was too tired to explain. Do you want to enter the next dimension? Transmission initiating. Shisheng. Damn buttface, you're awesome. The system space returned to its peaceful state. The system wanted to hug Ji and cry. How terrifying. The screen showing Shisheng's information suddenly flickered twice, and a blurry figure appeared on the screen. Master. The system immediately became excited. The host said there was a virus. Master, are you okay? I'm fine. The man sounded tired. She's collecting Feng Xi's data. Think of a way to take the watch from her. How was he going to take it? Would it dare to take its host's things? I still want to live for a few more years, Master. The owner of the system seemed to have thought of something, and was silent for a while. It should be too late. She has backed up all the data. I will clear Feng Xi's memory again, and try to buy as much time as possible. Master, why must you erase Feng Xi's memories? The system was very puzzled. This is already the third time. A person can only withstand such a large-scale memory wipe 5 times at most. Will he become stupid? He still can't retain his memories, so he will return to his own protective circle. The system master paused. If he becomes a retard, who knows how many people will set off fireworks to celebrate? Is Feng Xi that scary? Yes. The system shuddered. The host was already scary, but why was Feng Xi so scary as well? Master, have you investigated Mu Bai's matter? Don't worry about him. He can't do anything to her. Master, why do I hear a hint of contempt in your tone? The system still wanted to complain to its master, but when it looked at the screen, it was already a bunch of gibberish. He was deeply poisoned. Everyone knew that Unending had an extremely weak contractor. Bang. Before she could open her eyes, she heard a violent explosion. Her body was thrown high up in the air, and quickly fell back down. Her limbs felt heavy, as if someone had hung 1,000 kilograms of boulders on them. Her limbs were indeed the same. Chains shining with a strange red light extended from the ground and wrapped around her, desperately trying to pull her towards the pentagram on the ground. Shisheng's mind was screaming the word danger. That pentagram didn't look like anything good. At least, that was the case for her. Sword, save me. I'm going to die. The iron sword suddenly appeared and slashed towards the chains. Strangely, the iron sword actually hit empty air. Empty air? The iron sword buzzed and flew to Shisheng's hand. Shisheng grabbed the iron sword, turned his wrist and slashed at the chains beside him. This time he didn't hit empty air. The chains were cut and turned into little red lights, like fluorescent lights, slowly disappearing. Shisheng quickly removed the chains that bound him, and his body suddenly became light. She landed in the bushes next to the pentagram. The pentagram gave her a very bad feeling. Shisheng took out an energy ball and tossed it over. The energy ball exploded, and the pentagram disappeared. The whole world fell into darkness. Shisheng leaned against a tree and panted. Damn it, did I enter a magic world? No, although magic relied on the power of elements, it was still spiritual energy. But in this world, there was no spiritual energy. He couldn't feel any spiritual energy at all. Shisheng looked at the clothes on his body. It was actually a school uniform. School. But her breasts seemed to be quite big. Bah, now was not the time to look at her breasts. Oh. Shisheng staggered and fell to the ground. Her face was pale and she covered her chest. It hurt. Contract. This body actually had a contract. F*CKU. The contractor was going to die. Weishi surrender. An angry voice sounded from above Shisheng's head. She looked up and saw a boy in the same school uniform. He was holding an umbrella in his hand. The umbrella had the same pentagram drawn on it, and it was emitting a faint red light. The light made Shisheng more and more uncomfortable. Shisheng raised his hand and the iron sword swayed in front of the boy. He stepped back in surprise. Weishi, it's just a dying struggle. Let go now and I can spare your life. Shisheng was in so much pain that she didn't want to speak. She stood up from the ground and waved the iron sword at the boy. The boy didn't take it seriously at first, but soon he was surprised by the power of the iron sword and started to fight back seriously. The pentagram on his umbrella constantly emitted a red light and gathered into strange characters one after another in the air. The characters surrounded the boy and seemed to protect him. When the iron sword slashed at it, it only managed to cut off some of the runes. However, very soon, new runes would overflow from the surface of the umbrella and fill in the gaps. Shisheng narrowed her eyes. She turned her wrist and poked the umbrella in the boy's hand. The boy seemed to think that the umbrella would be fine and didn't avoid it in time. However, when the iron sword touched the umbrella, the pentagram on the umbrella suddenly lost its luster, and the characters disappeared. The boy didn't have time to be surprised and his whole body flew out. Shisheng staggered and her vitality was draining away. The contractor of this body was going to die. Don't ask me what plane this is. I don't know either. Anyway, it's a very strange plane. I know the title and the name. It's a very awesome book. You don't have to explain it to me. Well, it's just a story. Read and act cool. Everyone vote. Chapter 1247. So angry. Buttface, what kind of trash body did you choose? I'm either going to die or I'm going to die. Can't you let me live a good life for once? Desperate counterattack mode is not a joke, host. Buttface was smug. If you don't hurry up, you'll complete the first time you've been defeated. Defeat is Mubai's job, I won't do it. I'm not going to die. Shisheng walked to the place where the boy had fallen. The boy seemed to be seriously injured and looked at her with a pale face. Shisheng raised her sword and slashed at him. The boy's last expression was one of horror and disbelief. Shisheng was a bit melancholy after dealing with this enemy. Would it be faster to break the contract or to save someone? Host, I advise you not to mess with this contract. This is a blood contract. Although the definition of a blood contract is different in every world, the host should know that it is irreversible. A blood contract is irreversible. The word irreversible meant that it could not go against the flow, reverse, or reverse. It could not go against its master's orders. It could not turn against its master. It could not break the contract by force. In other words, she was the one who was contracted. F*CK. Shisheng took a few deep breaths. I can't play in this world. I have to go back and change to another world. Didn't you say you're not going to die? You want to change worlds just because of a disagreement. Do you think you're a TV station? Shisheng didn't have time to complain about the system. She stabbed herself without hesitation. The light in front of her began to dim. She was a bit dizzy, but she found that she hadn't returned to the system space. She was still in that place. Buttface, are you broken again? Host, you have a contract now. You won't die as long as your master is alive. Don't waste your energy. Shisheng. So why didn't you remind I before? I wanted to see the host commit suicide but couldn't. From the system's calm electronic voice, one could hear the schadenfreude in its voice. Shisheng gritted her teeth. Just you wait, I'll go offline first. Shisheng took a deep breath and covered her bleeding abdomen. Fortunately, she didn't stab her heart. She could sense the location of the person who had formed a contract with her. Shisheng lay on the iron sword and let it take him there. This should be a school campus. After bypassing the teaching building, they arrived at the field. The field was filled with all kinds of pentagrams of different colors. In the middle of those pentagram arrays, there was a particularly eye-catching black pentagram array. Everyone was attacking the black pentagram array, and they could vaguely see a figure inside. When Shisheng arrived, he happened to see the figure being hit by the invisible light. He was brought up into the air by the light and smashed down into the slowly disappearing black pentagram. Shisheng also felt the pain. It was as if it had been torn apart by something. "Ah, I am going crazy." Shisheng took a deep breath and sat on the iron sword. He rushed over and threw energy balls down as if they were free. Some people were struck by the explosion, and the light of the pentagram was directly annihilated by the lightning. "Who is it?" A bang. "Stop her, she's here to save Muyu." "It's Weishi. Why isn't she dead yet?" "Stop her, we can't let her save Muyu." "Stop your ass. I can't kill you, scum." Shisheng rampaged and blasted a path to the place where the person had fallen. He picked up the person on the ground and put him on the sword. He rose into the air and threw a few more energy balls down. There seemed to be thunder in the sky. Shisheng quickly stopped and let the iron sword run. "If I don't run now, I'll be struck. If I'm struck like this, I'll definitely die." Shisheng got rid of the lightning behind him and lay on the iron sword, looking at the person in front of him weakly. "Is this the owner of this body? So weak." Shisheng looked down. Good, it's still a modern city, and there are no strange buildings. She went straight to the edge of the city and found a safe place to land. She looked at the wounds on her body. Other than the ones she had poked herself, there were several other places, and they were bleeding non-stop. There was a faint burning sensation. Shisheng glanced at the person in front of him and estimated her danger level. In the end, he felt that it was safer to tie her up. After that, she started to treat her wounds and received the storyline. This was a very strange world. The background was still a modern society, and the development of technology was set in the 21st century. However, there were two special professions in their civilization: demons and purifiers. Demons were monsters born from all the dark emotions of humans. As long as humans had desires and dark sides, demons would not go extinct. Purifiers were born because of this. Purifiers were born. Those who could become purifiers would appear in the Purifying Demon Heavenly Book when they were born. The people of the Purifying Demon Alliance would find the purifier according to the address in the Heavenly Book and mark it. When the purifier was 12 years old, they would be sent to the Purifying Demon Academy to be taught. They had a very strange power in their bodies, and when they used it, a pentagram array would appear. It was similar to a magic world with spells, but it was different from magic. If a purifier wanted to become stronger, he had to keep killing demons. It was similar to a game. Purifiers were players, and demons were monsters. Killing monsters gave experience, and experience could be used to level up. The original owner was called Weishi. Unfortunately, she was a demon. Weishi was an SS-level demon. That's right, humans divided demons into levels. Newborn demons were all F-level, and the highest level was SS level, the highest level recorded by humans. As for whether there were higher levels, humans did not know. F to D were ordinary demons, C and B were high-level demons, and A was an elite demon. S-level demons were commander-type demons, and they could command A-level to F-level demons. SS-level demons were king demons. Weishi was a king demon. Demons leveled up by constantly sucking on the dark emotions of humans, such as hatred, jealousy, and greed. Therefore, for these dark emotions, demons would easily tempt humans. Weishi was an SS-level demon, and these human emotions could no longer help her level up. Then one day, she was suddenly summoned. According to the ancient civilization, some forbidden books wrote the way humans summon demons, but the general way was to sell the soul and let the demon help you do something. The demon would benefit, but the blood contract, the human would benefit. Weishi had inexplicably made a blood contract with a human. She had resisted at the beginning, often causing both herself and the contractor to suffer. But after she found that the person who made a blood contract with her could make her stronger, she was not so resistant. She also promised the contractor that she could help him, but he had to give up his soul, or she would die with the other party. She was a king demon. She couldn't break the blood contract, but she could do it. The contractor promised her. But Wei she didn't expect that she would die because of this. Asterisk hashtag today's ticket for Golden Rim Rue Fragrance hashtag end of the month. End of the month, monthly ticket. Chapter 1248. She was a king devil. She couldn't break the blood contract, but she could do it. The contractor promised her. But Wei she didn't expect that she would die because of this. Wei Shi's contractor was called Muyu. The Mu family was a purifying devil family, but Muyu, as the eldest son, couldn't become a purifying devil. Because of his own reasons, he was looked down upon by the Mu family, and was regarded as a stain by the Mu family. This was supposed to be a male protagonist setting. This was indeed a male protagonist setting. Muyu would slowly become stronger after suffering, and become the most powerful purifying devil. But someone had transmigrated. Muyu's cousin Muyi. Muyi had read the whole book, and knew all of Muyu's golden fingers. He snatched Muyu's golden fingers. He replaced Muyu's summoning book with a devil summoning book. Every purifying devil could summon a devil as their battle companion. Originally, Muyu would summon a very powerful devil as the cornerstone of his rise. But this devil was snatched away by Muyi, so Muyu summoned the devil Wei Shi. A contract between a human and a devil would be hunted down by all the purifying devil. At first, Muyu didn't know that he summoned a devil. Later, when he was fighting, he was accidentally discovered and Wei Shi killed the person without anyone knowing. But later Muyi knew. Muyi felt that Muyu was the male protagonist in the book and would kill him, so he had to make the first move and kill Muyu. So there was a big fight between Shisheng and Wei Shi. Wei Shi was the most aggrieved. She was inexplicably contracted, and before she could do anything, she was killed by Muyi and his people. Wei Shi's last wish was to kill Muyi, that little bitch, and then dominate the world. Very good, this wish was very strong. I'm very optimistic. Shisheng summarized the reasons why Wei Shi, as a king devil, was killed in the end. First, the contractor was too weak. Second, the contractor was too weak. Third, the contractor was too weak. In summary, Muyu, the original male protagonist, was too weak, so he let Wei Shi die. Muyu was the master. According to the rules, Wei Shi's power couldn't be stronger than Muyu. Wei Shi's power was suppressed, and she could only go offline to get a box meal. After receiving the plot, Shisheng only wanted to say one thing, F***CK. This was only one word. Host, please control your primal power that is ready to go berserk at any time. Don't have any dangerous thoughts of destroying the plane. If you keep talking nonsense, I will immediately collapse the plane for you to see. It was just a system, a baby. Why did it have to be treated so cruelly? After Shisheng accepted the plot, he cursed his trashy master 100 times in his heart before he slowly opened his eyes. As soon as she opened her eyes, she was met with a pair of blue eyes. They were as blue as the sea, but there was no emotion in them. They were lifeless. It was like a glass bead embedded in one's eye sockets. It only looked good, but there was no spiritual energy. His gaze shifted slightly upwards. His silver hair was stained with blood and had already coagulated, sticking tightly to the sides of his face. His face was very delicate, a little too delicate, like a porcelain doll. Her face was abnormally pale, but her lips were as red as blood. It was indescribably strange. When she was receiving the plot, she was almost in an unconscious state, so there was no way she could sense him approaching. But what the F***CK, where was I's sword? The iron sword stood on top of Shisheng's head, and was slowly spinning. Shisheng glared at it. Why didn't it slash people? Buzz. Master didn't mean to hurt you. Most importantly, if I slashed him, he would die, and you would die too. Shisheng. Shisheng immediately pushed the porcelain doll away and stood up, trembling. The porcelain doll fell directly to the ground after being pushed by her. His silver hair hung down, completely covering his face. Shisheng had just stood up, But before she could stabilize her body, she sat back down. She was still injured and was in so much pain that she didn't want to move at all. The porcelain doll lay on the ground, staring straight at her with his blue eyes. His gaze was a little strange. There was no despair or struggle. It seemed to be covered with a layer of lifeless fog. When a person didn't even feel despair, that was true despair. The porcelain doll's lips moved. His blood-red lips were stained with blood. When he opened his mouth, blood spilled out, and the air was filled with the smell of blood. Shisheng covered her wound and stared at him. After a long time, Shisheng asked, "Are you waiting for death?" Master's injuries weren't good, so the injuries reflected on her body wouldn't be healed either. The porcelain doll didn't make a sound and continued to stare at her with his blue eyes. Shisheng thought for a while. This master had never spoken before. Everyone in the family said that he was mute and couldn't speak. But Weishi knew that he could speak. He could also speak to Weishi. He was a porcelain doll who endured humiliation. Bah, the male protagonist's setting. He only appeared noble when he didn't speak. Shisheng pulled the iron sword down and motioned to the porcelain doll. "Go up." The porcelain doll's eyelashes trembled, and he vomited even more blood. It dripped down his chin and onto his clothes, dyeing them dark red. It was a shocking sight. Shisheng. F***ck, don't die. I don't want to die now. Even if you die, I still want to die, okay? The porcelain doll's eyes suddenly closed. His body softly fell to the ground, and there was no more movement. Shisheng. Dead? No, he wasn't dead yet. This meant that he could still be saved. The original owner was supposed to be a demon cleanser, but he summoned a demon. This kind of person was considered a traitor to humanity. How could he be saved? Give me a scientific explanation. Buttface, if you don't come out to explain, I will kill him. The host kept threatening the system. His injuries are very serious. He needs a special medicine. Give it to me. The system store doesn't sell this kind of medicine. Shisheng exploded. Bullshit. Don't you claim that the system store has everything? I really don't have this. Shisheng looked at the porcelain doll and pulled the iron sword up. Damn, he killed it quickly. Wait, host, I'll tell you where to get the medicine. No. Shisheng stabbed down with the sword. However, before he could touch the porcelain doll, he was sent flying. Shisheng. Shisheng sat on the ground and stared at the unmoving porcelain doll in the distance. After a while, F***ck. She had a blood contract with the porcelain doll. She couldn't attack the owner. This was the contract's rule. There was no way to play in this damned world. Host, calm down. It's just a medicine. It's easy for you. Easy. Go. I don't want to play. I can't kill him, right? Then I'll wait for him to die. Let me sort it out for you. Shisheng's body was undying. The owner of undying was Muyu. Muyu was the original male protagonist in the book. Muyu was originally a supporting character. However, he was transmigrated. Hence, the background of the novel was Muyi as the male protagonist, and Muyu as the supporting character. It was a novel about a transmigrated supporting character's counterattack. Those who have read it should understand it. Those who don't, just pretend to understand it. He would continue to act pretentious. Chapter 1249. A gentle breeze blew from afar, carrying the smell of blood with it. The sky began to brighten, and the first rays of the morning sun slowly crossed the horizon, illuminating the world. After some time, the person on the ground moved. The sunlight was so bright that he couldn't open his eyes. It took him a while to get used to it. He opened his eyes slightly, and the blood-stained grass swayed in front of him, brushing past the tip of his nose. It was extremely ticklish. Muyu's entire body was in pain. It felt like countless knives were sawing at his body, trying to cut him into pieces. He supported himself on the ground and slowly sat up. "You're not dead yet." A slightly regretful voice suddenly sounded in his ear. He looked up, and his azure blue eyes reflected the girl opposite him. The school uniform outlined her curves. The school skirt was a little short, revealing her fair and slender legs. She tilted her head slightly, and her red hair fell in front of her chest, blocking the view that the school uniform couldn't. Her eyes, which seemed to be stained with blood, were calmly staring at him. She had lost her usual aura, but she was more indifferent. Nothing in the world could enter her eyes. Unending, this wasn't unending. Even if that face was exactly the same as he remembered. Shirsheng watched the porcelain doll get up from the ground, his azure blue eyes still unmoved. His Adam's apple bobbed twice, and a clear voice came from his lips. "Who are you?" It was a very pleasant voice, but he didn't know why he didn't speak. Shirsheng's mouth twitched, and his voice spread with the wind. "Your contractor." The porcelain doll was probably checking the contract, and his pale face wrinkled. There was no problem with the contract. She was still unending. But why did she give him a completely different feeling? Cough, cough. The porcelain doll suddenly coughed, and blood flowed out of his mouth uncontrollably. He coughed with great difficulty, as if he was going to cough out his organs. Shirsheng looked on coldly, and felt waves of pain that didn't belong to her. After a while she cursed, F***ck. She waited for him to lie down for an entire night, but he didn't die, and now he was torturing her. Even the original male lead had the aura of a male lead. What a scam! The porcelain doll coughed for a while before he stopped. Perhaps he had used up all his energy, for he fell back and looked at Shirsheng with his head tilted. His eyes did not move, and he did not make a sound. If not for the fact that he was still breathing, Shirsheng would have suspected that he was dead. Shirsheng sat for a while, then stood up and walked towards the porcelain doll. She walked unsteadily, as if a gust of wind would blow her over. When she finally reached the porcelain doll, she looked down at him. "Why don't you commit suicide?" The porcelain doll's eyes moved and her voice was so soft that it was almost inaudible. "You are not Wei Shi." "I'm not." Shirsheng did not deny it. "But this body is still alive, so are you going to commit suicide?" The porcelain doll was not surprised. He did not say anything else, nor did he have any intention of committing suicide. Shirsheng. Only talking to Wei Shi? It seemed that among so many people, only Wei Shi had heard him speak. Shirsheng looked up at the sky with melancholy. How could they let him commit suicide? He had already given up all hope, so why didn't he commit suicide? Shirsheng stood there for a while. The porcelain doll stared at her without blinking, as if he could not feel any pain. She was a contractor, so the pain she felt was only a third of the master's. If she felt pain, one could imagine how much pain the porcelain doll was going through. It was so painful. Asterisk flips table asterisk. Why did she have to suffer with him? Shirsheng was so angry that she cursed for a long time. Then she pulled the iron sword over and placed the porcelain doll on the iron sword. The porcelain doll remained silent from the beginning to the end. He was the perfect example of a male protagonist who cherished his words as if they were gold. If this was not a contract, I would have chopped him into a few hundred pieces. The porcelain doll lived in a remote alley in the city. There was a name for the alley, Paradise Street. It was not because it was a paradise, but because it was a paradise for all kinds of people. Ever since the porcelain doll knew that he had a contract with a demon, he did not dare to live in the Mu family. He left the Mu family and moved to this place. There were not only humans here, but also demons. After the demons hid the color of their hair and pupils, they looked no different from normal people. Normal people could not tell if the people around them were demons or not. The house rented by the porcelain doll was not big. It only had one bedroom and one living room. Shirsheng threw the porcelain doll on the bed and turned to leave. She had only taken 2 steps when she suddenly could not move. Shirsheng turned to look at the person on the bed. Her voice was cold. "Let go. To hell with the blood contract." The porcelain doll kept his head turned and asked, "Who are you?" Shirsheng gritted his teeth. "I'm your ancestor." Something seemed to shrink in the air, imprisoning her in an invisible and narrow space. Shirsheng summoned the iron sword. The iron sword slashed at the bed. The bed was cut in half and the porcelain doll fell under the bed. Shirsheng was free. He went forward and picked the doll up. "If you dare to use the power of the contract on me again, I will kill you." The porcelain doll was fearless and stated the truth. "You can't kill me." "I can't kill you, but I can let someone else kill you." Yes, he could let someone else kill him. Host Feng Xiai. Sheng. No, I'll see you next time. Host, you're scaring me. Master, come quickly. Host hasn't taken any medicine. Sheng threw him away. The porcelain doll fell on the broken bed and coughed again. Sheng turned and went out. He caught someone disguised as a demon and pointed at the coughing porcelain doll. Kill him. This demon was a Class D demon. Wei Shi was a king demon. Even if he was injured, his aura would still scare normal demons. Many demons on Paradise Street knew that there was a high-level demon living here. However, this demon usually did not appear, so they did not want to court death. They did not know what level she was, but the Class D demons who had been in close contact with her knew what level she was. This Class D demon did not know that he was so unlucky. He was caught as soon as he stepped out. And such a high-level one. Help. The D-Class demon trembled as he looked at the porcelain doll on the bed. His face instantly turned pale. King, isn't this your contractor? He remembered that he had heard her call him master in a sarcastic tone. You will die if I kill you. Don't want such a trash contractor. Hurry up and kill him. The Class D demon trembled even more. Was the king testing him? It must be so. Why would the king seek his own death? Therefore, the Class D demon bent his legs and knelt in front of Sheng to express his sincerity. King, I am absolutely loyal to you. I will never betray you. Sheng. What kind of development was this? I only asked you to kill someone. Who asked you to express your sincerity? Okay, kill him first. Then express your sincerity. The Class D demon. Asking for the psychological trauma of the porcelain doll. Ha ha ha. Asking for a vote every day. Yes, that's it. Chapter 1250. The Class D demon didn't dare to move. He knelt on the ground, trembling. Sheng felt unwell all over. This world is poisonous. The porcelain doll had crawled out from under the collapsed bed. If the scene was different, it would definitely be the male version of Here Comes Sadako. Sheng glanced at him. The porcelain doll lay on the ground, motionless. Host, accept your fate. Do I have any enemies? Sheng ignored the system and asked the Class D demon. The Class D demon didn't know. He could only shake his head, trembling. How would a low-level demon like them know about this? They didn't even know her name, Sheng. He couldn't let her die in Muye's hands, right? What a joke. He was determined not to die in the hands of the male protagonist. The system said it was easy to get the medicine, but it didn't tell her that it was in the Mu family. Sheng gritted his teeth. You want me to die? Host, don't you want to die? Good. That was what the system said. I don't want to die now. Capricious host, let me calm down. Sheng wondered if she could get the medicine back from the Mu family with her current combat ability. After she had a few safe routes in mind, she began to barge into the Mu family's residence. What happened to the safe routes? You came here by force. What's the use of thinking about safe routes? What's the use? Sheng rushed to the place where the medicine was kept. After finding the medicine mentioned by the system, she immediately asked Iron Sword to take her out of the Mu family. The Mu family didn't even see who it was. Sheng took the medicine back. The Class D demon had already cleaned up the house. The porcelain doll was moved to the sofa in the living room. Sheng glanced at the Class D demon. The Class D demon stood by the door, not daring to breathe. Sheng roughly fed him the medicine and ordered the Class D demon, take care of him. King, don't worry. The Class D demon hurriedly responded. Sheng entered the bedroom where the porcelain doll was and slammed the door. Her body swayed and she fell down. She hurriedly started to heal her injuries according to her memory. 3 days later, Sheng woke up. His body was no longer in pain, and he felt relaxed. She tried to use the power of the demon, and a black hexagram array appeared under her feet. A strange power rushed out from the hexagram array, and attacked the things in the house with her hand gestures. By the time she stopped, the whole house was in a mess, as if a gust of wind had swept through. Sheng stared at the 6-pointed star array under her feet, and frowned slightly. She remembered that the people she had seen before had used the 5-pointed star array. There was nothing useful in the original owner's memories regarding this. It seemed like she was born with a hexagram array. Perhaps this was the reason why she could become a king demon. Whatever, it was fine as long as he was awesome. Shisheng withdrew the six-pointed star array and opened the door. In the living room, the porcelain doll sat at the table eating breakfast. He was still wearing the clothes from before, and the bloodstains were very obvious. But his expression was so normal that it was as if the person who was about to die a few days ago was not him. The D-rank demon had disappeared without a trace. The porcelain doll looked up at the Shisheng and continued to eat her breakfast. Shisheng walked up to him and asked, "Where's mine?" The porcelain doll swallowed the last mouthful of food. Demons don't need human food. Shisheng. Yes, demons did not eat human food. They were usually not hungry. Demons at her level would not be hungry either. The porcelain doll put the dishes on the table into the kitchen and came out of the bedroom after a while. Seeing the mess in the bedroom, he stood at the door for a while and went in to find his clothes from the pile of debris. Shisheng looked at him with her chin propped up. He knew that she was not immortal, and other than that one time when he attacked her, there was no emotion on his face at all. This person, did he not care? Or was he preparing for a big move? The porcelain doll took the clean clothes into the bathroom, and soon there was the sound of running water. When the porcelain doll came out, he had changed into a clean school uniform, and his blue eyes had turned black. Only his silver hair had not changed. He was very exquisite, like a prince born in a palace, and he was very distant and noble. However, when you looked into his eyes, you would feel like you were in a horror movie. Oppressive, gloomy. He threw the dirty clothes into the washing machine, pressed the start button, and stared at the washing machine for a while. "Thank you." Shisheng propped up his chin and smiled slightly. "Why don't you kill yourself to thank me?" The porcelain doll turned around, and his silver hair drew a beautiful arc in the air with his movements. "There are many ways to break the contract. You don't have to kill me. Then you should break it." "I don't know how." Shisheng. What? As a demon cleanser, he did not even know how to break a blood contract? What a joke. This must be a fake male lead. "I'll teach you." "I know how to break the contract." The porcelain doll looked at her, and his black eyes were no longer lifeless. Instead, there was a strange light in them. "I don't know how to break the contract." Shisheng immediately understood what he meant. It was not that he did not know how to break the contract, but that he did not know how to break the contract. Thank goodness for the profoundness of Chinese. Shisheng gritted his teeth. "If you don't understand, I'll kill you." The porcelain doll ignored Shisheng's threat. "I'm going to school." Shisheng. What was wrong with this brat? Muyi had brought people to encircle him, but he still dared to go to school. Shisheng watched the porcelain doll leave. She sat for a while and rummaged through the room. She found a school uniform, which should be the original owner's. She changed into the school uniform and went to school according to her memory. On the way, Shisheng found a hairdresser and dyed her flamboyant red hair black. Tame demons and demons had the same hair color and pupils. They were all different colors, so it wasn't easy to distinguish between demons and demonic demons. Everyone in school thought that Wei Shi was the porcelain doll's familiar. Her pupils returned to black after her injury was healed. Demons and familiars were the same. Their pupils would only return to their original color when they used their abilities. After Shisheng finished dyeing her hair, she slowly went to school. Demon cleanser was a public profession in this world, so the demon cleanser school was also very famous. Those who could study in this school were all demon cleansers. The school hours were not fixed for each class, so it was not like other schools where there was not even a shadow of a bird at the gate when class started. "Wei Shi, why did your hair turn black?" A boy with blue hair walked past Shisheng. This person was a familiar, and seemed to like the original owner. His master was from a side branch of a big family. He did not have much of a presence in school, and was equivalent to a passerby. Shisheng. He felt that he had entered a strange anime. The man was very handsome. He opened his eyes wide and looked at Shisheng curiously. "Wei Shi, what's wrong?" Shisheng looked away and pointed his chin to the other side. "Your master was bullied." The blue-haired boy looked over and his expression changed. He immediately rushed over. In a moment, there was the sound of fighting. This kind of thing was often seen in school. As long as no one died, the school allowed this kind of fighting. Chapter 1251. Shisheng entered the school and looked around. There seemed to be quite a few people who knew the original owner, and these people probably didn't know about the fight that day. After all, they were just looking at her, and didn't look like they had seen a demon. The school was very big. Shisheng walked and walked until she reached the sports field that she had blown up that day. The whole field was full of holes, and there were still thunder and lightning inside. There were cordons all around, and people wearing protective clothing were measuring something at the edge of the field. Shisheng walked towards the crowd, and the discussion gradually became clearer. How do you think this was done? There is still thunder and lightning in the holes, and it hasn't dissipated after 3 days. I don't know if it has anything to do with the demon. Is there still no news from the student union? Can't you see that those people are still measuring? It means that they don't know what it is. Student union blah blah blah. The discussion didn't have any practical use, and it was all guesswork. Shisheng stood for a while and left the sports field. There was a tree-lined path next to the sports field, and Shisheng walked along it. Hair of different colors swayed in front of her, and her eyes were almost like a colorful Mary Sue. A person could only summon one familiar at a time, and after it was summoned, it could only live with its master. This group of people were still students, and they needed to cultivate tacit understanding with future battle partners, so the school allowed them to go to school. Young Master Mu came to school, and he still dared to come. He's really brave. Where is he? He went back to the dormitory. Young Master Mu, why don't we tell the school about this? If the school knows that he contracted a demon, they will definitely hand him over to the Mu family to be executed. What do you know? Let's go and see. Shisheng watched a few people in front of him leave with a boy. That was the male lead of this world, Mu Yi. The people around him were all his underlings. Mu Ye's setting was very high, and he was the most powerful purifier of the Mu family's younger generation. He was also favored, and his status in the Mu family was much higher than Mu Yu, who was a proper but not favored young master. After he stole Mu Yu's contracted familiar, his strength increased, and he was even more favored in the Mu family. Shisheng stood still and watched the group of people disappear at the end of the tree-lined path. Actually, from Shisheng's point of view, Mu Yi had done nothing wrong. After all, he was the one who had turned the tables. However, she was now on Wei Shi's side. No matter whether Mu Yi was in the wrong or not, he was still her enemy. As a qualified player, one had to know that one had to understand one's mission and goal. Since Mu Yi was looking for trouble with the porcelain doll, Shisheng thought about it and decided to follow him. That trash master was killed by Mu Yi. Where would she put her face as an old player? In the dormitory. The school was rich and overbearing. Regardless of whether the students lived on campus or not, there would always be a bed. Porcelain Doll's dormitory was on the 3rd floor. Just as Shisheng stepped onto the 2nd floor, he heard the commotion on the 3rd floor. Someone was calling Porcelain Doll's name, and all sorts of mocking voices were ear-piercing. Shisheng couldn't see what was going on because the staircase was blocked. He could only ask the people in front of him to make way. Please make way. Who the F***ck are you? The person in front turned his head. Before he could curse, he immediately swallowed his words and stood to the side without a word. He even pulled the person in front of him. Wei Shi was quite famous in the school and was quite powerful. Ever since Porcelain Doll had contracted her, there were fewer people who dared to find trouble with her when she was around. Why is her hair black? I don't know. She's coming over. Shisheng walked into the battle under the gaze of a group of people. Mu Yi and his lackeys were standing a little further away, but they were obviously watching the show. They weren't the ones who were going to make a move. Mu Yi glanced at the person coming over from the crowd, and a trace of amazement flashed through his eyes. In the past, Wei Shi was beautiful, sexy, and charming. A casual glance from her could make people fall head over heels for her. But now Wei Shi was still beautiful, arrogantly beautiful and noble. All of her sexy and charming aura had been restrained by her. She had the aura of a king, looking down on the world, making people not dare to blaspheme her. Mu Yi waited until Shisheng came closer before he quickly restrained his amazement. His body tensed up involuntarily, and he was slightly on guard. Shisheng's gaze swept past his face and landed on the door of a dormitory that they were surrounding. Porcelain Doll stood by the door and looked down at the floor. The floor was a mess, and a boy was constantly throwing things out from inside. The people in the dormitory probably saw Shisheng and stopped throwing things. Just like that, the scene strangely froze. Everyone thought that Shisheng was going to seek justice for Porcelain Doll, but who knew that she was just watching without any intention of making a move. Her expression didn't even change. The scene became even more strange. Shisheng waited for a long time, but this group of people seemed to have been hit with the pause button. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and ask, "Why aren't you continuing?" The things in the hands of the boy in the dormitory fell to the ground with a bang. The sound reverberated through the room and seemed to make everyone's hearts drop. It's him. He started it first. The boy explained in a panic. Porcelain Doll raised her head and looked at the boy. There seemed to be a flash of mockery in her pitch-black eyes, but it was so fast that no one could catch it. Shisheng indicated that he understood. He started it. Hit him back. The boy. What was going on? The scene became awkward again. The boy glanced at Mu Yi and suddenly rushed out of the door and hid in the crowd. Weishi, don't think that you can bully others just because you're powerful. If you start a fight in school again, the school will kick you out. The school was very tolerant of humans, but not so tolerant of familiars. If a familiar attacked 3 times, they would not be able to summon the dragon god, and would only be kicked out of school. Weishi had already been penalized twice. If she was penalized again, she would be kicked out of school. Shisheng sneered. I'm bullying others? Who's backing me up? The boy choked. Mu Yi was the one who was bullied in school. Indeed, he didn't have any backing. Weishi. Mu Yi took 2 steps forward. The young man was tall and handsome, and there was a hint of madness between his brows. Mu Yi, I have something to say. Why don't we go somewhere else? What's there to say? Shisheng rolled his eyes. I'm not going. Only an idiot would go if the male lead asked. Porcelain Doll had already lowered her head and didn't say anything. In the past, when Porcelain Doll didn't speak, Weishi would speak on her behalf. Now that Shisheng was putting on airs, no one could understand what Porcelain Doll meant. Awkward scene X1. Mu Yi's expression changed. He stared at Shisheng. It's about Zheng Wei. Shisheng didn't even bat an eyelid. I don't know him. What Zheng Wei, Zhang Wei, Zhao Wei? Do I know him? Mu Yi gave a look to the people beside him, and the underlings immediately dispersed the crowd. After the crowd dispersed, Mu Yi lowered his voice. Weishi, do you want to expose your identity? Shisheng looked at Mu Yi with a faint smile, his calm eyes reflecting his face. You help me hide my identity. What do you want from me? Why didn't Mu Yi reveal her identity as a demon? There must be a conspiracy. There's always an idiot who wants to harm me. I'm scared. Asterisk, there's always Cherub. How can I break it if I don't vote? I'll just beat them up. Chapter 1252. Mu Yi didn't answer the question. He glanced at the Porcelain Doll. I'll give you 1 day to think it over. Shisheng shrugged, looking indifferent. Just say it if you want to. I'm not afraid. Mu Yi narrowed his eyes. Can you fight against the school with your current strength? Weishi, don't try to show off. Shisheng laughed arrogantly. I can fight against the whole world, let alone a school. A school is nothing. How can a big shot like me, who can destroy the world, no save the world, be troubled by a school? Shisheng's eyes turned. Why don't I beat the male lead up first? That's a good idea. Before Mu Yi could say what he wanted to say, a strong wind came from the front. Mu Yi was shocked and quickly dodged. A cold light fell from his side. Before he could see clearly what it was, the cold light came from the side and slashed horizontally. The air was filled with the sound of killing. A pentagram suddenly appeared under Mu Yi's feet. His body was covered by the light of the pentagram, and the iron sword missed. This thing might not be on the same level as the iron sword. It was not as easy to cut through it. But it wasn't impossible to cut through. Sheng held the iron sword and slashed through the pentagram under Mu Ye's feet. The iron sword's aura whistled through the narrow passageway. The wind seemed to be filled with countless sharp blades, leaving slashes on the wall. Mu Ye was shocked. How did she have such power? The white dust on the wall was blown up by the wind. The entire passageway was gray and no one could see clearly what was going on inside. Crash, bang. Below the dormitory, there was the sound of glass shattering. Then a figure was thrown out and fell to the ground. The people below were stunned. They looked at the person who fell in the broken glass, dumbfounded. Mu Ye's skin felt like it had been cut by knives. He clutched his chest and looked in the direction of the third floor in shock. Sheng leaned against the windowsill and smiled faintly. If I want to deal with you, I can do it in a matter of minutes. Mu Ye, behave yourself. Who knows, I might let you live for a few more days. If it wasn't for your aura, I would have killed you right now, you little bitch. Everyone. Holy sh*t. Holy sh*t. How arrogant. This was young Master Mu. How dare he talk to young Master Mu like that? Did he have a death wish? At this moment, Mu Ye's mind was filled with disbelief. How could she still be so powerful when Mu Ye was injured? Sheng's figure disappeared from the window on the third floor. A group of people wearing student union badges quickly ran out from a building and surrounded Mu Ye. Young Master Mu, I heard that it was a familiar that attacked you? Mu Ye was helped up by his younger brother. Before Mu Ye could speak, his younger brother angrily said, "It's Wei Shi." The student union member frowned. Young Master Mu, go to the infirmary first. We'll take care of things here. Mu Ye glanced in the direction of the third floor and said calmly, "Let's go." The student union member went up to the third floor and saw the strange cut marks on the wall. They looked at each other and carefully walked forward. When they arrived at Mu Ye's dormitory, the door was open, but Mu Ye was alone inside. He was tidying up his bed. His silver hair hung down and blocked his vision. He didn't seem to notice their arrival. "Mu Ye," the student union member called out. It was hard to tell whether the expression on his face was disgusted or disgusted. Mu Ye didn't stop and continued to fold the quilt. The student union member was used to Mu Ye's way of dealing with people. He directly asked, "Mu Ye, where's your familiar?" Mu Ye stretched out his hand and pointed outside. Left. "Mu Ye, your familiar has already hit people 3 times. Come with us to the student union to take care of it." Mu Ye's hand paused. He raised his head slightly and his silver hair scattered, revealing his delicate eyes. Although he was a monster, they had to admit that he was really good-looking. Even Mu Ye couldn't compare to him. Mu Ye put down the things in his hand and walked towards them. He pointed outside. The student union member thought that he wanted to go with them and left the dormitory. Who knew that the dormitory door would be closed the moment they left? Student union. "Mu Ye." A student union member kicked the door. "Open the door. Who do you think you are? You've been hitting people 3 times. As the owner, you have to take responsibility. Do you think that you can still stay in school after hitting young Master Mu? Even if you're from the Mu family, you won't have a good time. Mu Ye, open the door. Don't King pretend to be dead. Mu Ye, you're a monster. Just looking at you disgusts me. Open the door for me. If you don't open it, we'll knock the door down." The student union member slammed the door loudly. Mu Ye stared at the door. His face was expressionless, but blue light flashed in his eyes from time to time. It was as if he wanted to swallow the darkness and see the light again. Monster. Just because he had a head of silver hair, they gave him such a title. The Mu family's monster. Cough cough. Mu Ye suddenly covered his chest and coughed. His face was as pale as paper. Sheng walked and walked. His body suddenly staggered and his face quickly scrunched up. She covered her chest and opened her mouth to let air into her lungs. What was that trashy owner doing? Waves of dizziness hit her. Sheng felt that she could faint at any time. Sheng bit the tip of her tongue. The pain made her dizziness subside. After a while, she felt better. F***ck. What a trashy setting. Sheng cursed for a while and walked back angrily. The downstairs of the dormitory had been cleaned up and the onlookers had dispersed. If it weren't for the fact that the glass windows on the third floor were not replaced, it would have been as if nothing had happened. Shisheng went upstairs but couldn't find Muyu. The door of his dormitory had been forcibly torn down. The room was in a mess and the smell of blood was in the air. Shisheng kicked the debris on the floor and saw bloodstains on the floor. There were also traces of dragging on the floor. The bloodstains extended all the way to the door. Shisheng. She walked out of the dormitory and dragged someone along the corridor. Where's the porcelain doll? The person screamed when he saw Shisheng's face. Shisheng was very unhappy. He grabbed the person's collar and said fiercely, "Stop screaming. I asked you a question. Answer me." The person trembled. You, who are you asking? The porcelain doll. The person was dumbfounded. Who was the porcelain doll? Muyu. He was taken away by the student union. Shisheng threw him away and strode down the stairs. The person was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. He supported himself against the wall and barely managed to stand. He was scared to death. However, before he could breathe a sigh of relief, his vision darkened again. The scary voice sounded above him again. Where's the student union? Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little fairy. The weather is unpredictable. You have to take care of yourselves. Don't catch a cold. Cherub, okay. Little fairy. I'm so concerned about you. Aren't you going to express your concern? Cherub. Do we have to express our concern? Is this concern? Little fairy. Love is mutual. How can I do it alone? Cherub. Cherub. Aren't you just asking for tickets? No way. Little fairy, my love is over. Goodbye. Cherub. Waving hand, system notification. Your dear little fairy has gone offline. You can summon her now 06666. Chapter 1253. The student union was on the top floor of a school building. Shisheng looked up at the 3 words hanging at the top of the building and pursed his lips. It was okay if they killed Muyu, but if they didn't kill him, it was wrong of them to keep torturing him. Damn it. Don't you know I'll feel terrible too? Host, if you don't save him now you might die. Shisheng. Dog 2, can you not do it? If you don't do it, I won't do it. The system replied with a straight face. Shisheng put his hands on his hips. Dog 2, tell me clearly, when did I do it? Now. Shisheng. Good job, Dog 2, you'll remember this. Scary. Why do you want me to remember it? Can't you remember it yourself? Why should I keep a record of it? The system felt it was safer to go offline now. Shisheng despised Dog 2 for a few seconds, then looked up at the 3 words hanging at the top of the building again. The students passing by pointed at Shisheng and discussed the flashy story of her beating Muyi. She took out the iron sword and commanded it. Go and knock down that sign for me. Iron sword. Master, can't you let me do something lofty? Are you going or not? You're talking more and more nonsense. Buzz. Go. After all, it was a sword that had chopped houses, smashed eggs, and dug soil. It was used to knocking down a sign. The iron sword flew into the air and directly pried down the 3 words inlaid on the wall. The 3 words hit the ground with a very ear-piercing sound. Many people opened the windows and looked down. Seeing the student union sign fall, they all had a strange look on their faces. The students who had witnessed the whole process had already stood far away. Was this Wei Shi crazy? She dared to provoke the student union. Hey, did you see the sword in her hand just now? She can use it even without a star map. Humans called the pentagram star map. No matter if it was a person, a weapon, or a demon, a star map would appear when they used it. Seems like it. The people next to him finally reacted. What kind of weapon is that? To think that it could be used without a star map. He had never heard of such a weapon. Have any of you heard of it? Everyone shook their heads. They had never heard of a weapon that did not have a star atlas when it was used. The iron sword flew back and floated in front of Shisheng. Shisheng reached out and held the sword. The tip of the sword was pressed against the ground as support. He waited for the people from the student union to come down and meet him like a boss. About half a minute later, the first person wearing a student union badge appeared at the entrance of the building, followed by a second, a third, They quickly surrounded the Shisheng. Wei Shi, you still dare to provoke us? Shisheng tilted his head and smiled evilly. Provoke? If you think that saying this will make you feel better, then consider it a provocation. I was clearly here to cause trouble. The faces of the members of the student union changed collectively. A tall boy stood out with a face full of anger. Wei Shi, you've hurt people 3 times. Come with us to receive your punishment. The arrogance in Shisheng's eyes seemed to overflow. Do you think you can punish me? In this world, no one has the right to punish me. Everyone was speechless. Why did she say such a childish line so arrogantly? She was quite serious, the tall boy scolded. This is the rule. You have to abide by the rules in school. In response to the tall boy's scolding, Shisheng sneered. Rules are set by people. Rules are dead, but people are alive. Why don't we change the rules? Everyone was speechless. Was he trying to rebel? The girl next to the tall boy snorted. Don't talk nonsense. Capture her. Let's see how she's going to argue this time. The girl's status in the student union was not low. When she spoke, a colorful star atlas appeared under the feet of the others. It was very beautiful. Of course, that was if they were not so murderous. Devil cleansers and demons were natural enemies. Even if Shisheng was not afraid of devil cleansers, his body instinctively did not like those powers. His body kept screaming to destroy them. Shisheng held the iron sword tightly. Before the first person made a move, he made a move first. In a fight, whoever took the initiative had a higher chance of winning. Not everyone who was at a disadvantage had the strength and luck to turn the tables. Therefore, it was definitely not wrong to make the first move. Shisheng held the iron sword and broke up the group. She realized that these people were much weaker than Mu Yi. They needed to chant incantations to use their skills, but Mu Yi could do it almost instantly. She could make Mu Yi into such a state. How could she not handle this group of people? The members of the student union were constantly sent flying by Shisheng. They fell to the ground and wailed. Use the square lock to trap her. The girl shouted from outside. Everyone listened to the girl's command. Chains quickly shot out from the pentagram array under their feet. The chains flew into the air and intertwined with the chains of the others. Shisheng looked up at the chains that surrounded her in a semicircle. The color of the sky became fainter and fainter. The colorful chains kept moving. Shisheng uttered a single syllable. Everyone looked at the semicircle wrapped by the chains, and whispered to the people around them. Is she trapped? She should be trapped, right? She's just a familiar. That monster isn't by her side. She shouldn't be that strong. But she injured so many members of the student union just now. The square lock is the student union's ultimate move. How could it not? F***ck. That person's tone changed as if he had seen something unbelievable. Everyone immediately looked over. They saw that the chains there had turned into sparkling spots of light and dissipated into the air. Time seemed to have been grabbed by a hand, and everything seemed to have slowed down. In the next second, time returned to normal. A wave of air spread from there, sending the members of the student union flying. It swept through the surrounding trees. The leaves were suddenly swept into the air by a gust of wind. They exploded in the air like fireworks and fell with a crash. Everything happened too quickly. Before anyone could see clearly, their eyes were blocked by the falling leaves. The leaves were flying. The girl held the iron sword and smiled brightly. However, that smile did not reach her eyes. It only gave people a sense of eeriness. Do you still want to fight? The tall boy and the girl were also sent flying. At this time, they struggled to get up from the ground and stared at her in horror. Wei Shiyu. How did she become so strong? How was this possible? A familiar could only use its full strength when it was by its master's side. However, Muyu was not around at all. How did she do it? Shisheng looked at the shocked tall boy and said calmly, If you don't want to fight, hand over Muyu. The tall boy quietly put his hand into his trouser pocket and sent a signal to the school for backup. He answered Shisheng and stalled for time. Muyu tried to attack a member of the student union. She needs to be confined. When the time is up, she will go back. Chapter 1254. As soon as the tall boy finished speaking, the person opposite him began to wave his sword. The leaves in the air swept towards them as the sword moved, completely blocking their line of sight. Shisheng scoffed coldly, bypassed them, and went upstairs. Relying on the special relationship of the contract, Shisheng found Guanmuyu's room. The room was very dark. Shisheng smelled the strong smell of blood as soon as she entered. She reached out and pressed the light beside her. The room immediately lit up. There was no bloody scene in the room, not even a person. There was no cover in the room, and she could see everything in one glance. She felt that he was here just now. How did he disappear now? Shisheng sensed again, and realized that the porcelain doll was actually at home. Shisheng. She walked into the room and looked around before finally landing on the ground. There was a circle of marks there that were slowly disappearing. That was blood. The people from the student union gathered the school teachers, and they were now gathered below. However, when they went up, they realized that there was no one there. Muyu and Weishi were gone. Where is she? I didn't see her come down. How did she leave with Muyu? Teacher, Weishi and Muyu are messing around in school. Weishi even beat up Muyi. Should we inform the Mu family? The teachers standing in front listened to the report from the student union and frowned. After a while they said, inform the Mu family. Yes. Shisheng returned to Paradise Street. When she opened the door, she saw the porcelain doll lying on the ground. There was a hideous wound on his wrist, and it was bleeding. There was already a small pool of blood on the ground. Shisheng approached him. The person on the ground suddenly raised his head. His eyes were blue again. There was vigilance and a trace of fierceness in his lifeless eyes. After seeing who it was, he lowered his head again. Shisheng stared at his wrist and watched the blood oozing out. The blood seemed to have gathered into a small stream in her eyes. After a while, she got up and went to the bedroom. She found a first aid kit in the ruins and flipped him onto the sofa. She skillfully bandaged his wound. The porcelain doll did not open her eyes until the Shisheng bandaged her wound. Didn't you want me to die? I don't want to think about it now. Shisheng threw all the medicine back into the medicine box. The porcelain doll looked at her strangely and retracted its hand. It turned around and faced Shisheng with its back. Shisheng stared at his back for a moment, kicked the medicine box, and left the room with a gloomy face. Hidden mission, the uncrowned king. Mission target, Muyu. Mission objective. The literal meaning. Please understand it yourself. Shisheng stood outside the door and sneered. The system was trembling slightly. Host, please calm down. I wanted to give you a mission before, but you were the one who wanted to kill him. What could it do? Shisheng was silent for a moment. He restrained the coldness on his face and went downstairs. When they met the D-class demon downstairs, she grabbed him and said, "Take care of the people upstairs." The rank D demon nodded repeatedly. Shisheng let it go and walked outside. Host, how did you find out? The system couldn't help but ask. Shisheng didn't reply to the system and blocked it. How did she find out? She reached out and touched her heart. It was blood. The blood gave her that intuition. Muyu lay on the sofa for a long time. He stared at the rank D demon standing by the door without moving his eyes. Are you hungry? The rank D demon felt uncomfortable being stared at for a long time. This was the king's master, so he didn't dare to say anything. Muyu pursed his lips and pointed his finger twice in the air. A very small pentagram appeared with 2 words on it. What about her? The rank D demon thought for a while before he understood who Muyu was asking about. The king left. I don't know where he went. Muyu waved his hand, and the pentagram disappeared. He turned around and faced the rank D demon with his back. The rank D demon was speechless. Shisheng didn't come back until midnight. The rank D demon was guarding the door. When he saw her, he quickly stood up. King. Shisheng threw the 2 men to the ground. How is he? The rank D demon quickly glanced at the 2 men. They were the demon cleanser. He quickly retracted his gaze and answered respectfully. He didn't eat anything and didn't get up. Shisheng pushed the door open. Bring them in. Yes. The rank D demon immediately dragged the 2 men and followed behind Shisheng. The room didn't change much from when she left. The medicine box was still scattered beside the sofa. Muyu's back was still facing her. Shisheng went forward to check his hand. Muyu let her do whatever she wanted. Shisheng forced him to turn over so that he could see the two men on the ground. Do you want to do it yourself or do you want me to do it for you? Muyu's eyes didn't react. When he saw the two men, he finally reacted. He sat up. Shisheng looked at the rank D demon. Go back first. The rank D demon didn't dare to say anything. He left the room and closed the door. Shisheng passed the iron sword to him. Don't hold back your hatred. It's easy to get sick. Muyu glanced at her. What's your motive? She wasn't undying. She wanted to leave him. She had been watching coldly from the sidelines. She even wanted to kill him. He could feel the murderous aura from her. But now, she suddenly changed her attitude. He was puzzled. Shisheng smiled. I got you. Me. Muyu didn't seem to understand this word. A trace of confusion flashed across his face. Muyu lowered his eyes. I don't have anything. The Mu family saw him as the disgrace of the family. The people at school called him a monster. Before the contract ended, he wasn't even a devil cleanser. After the contract ended, he was even less of a devil cleanser. In the end, he didn't even have a contract. You have now. Shisheng stuffed the iron sword into his hand and held it gently. You have me. Shisheng didn't want him to kill, but Muyu. There was too much hatred in his heart. If she didn't let him kill, she was afraid that this idiot would walk into an even darker abyss. Although she didn't mind. Muyu opened his eyes. His gaze met with Shisheng's. That face was very familiar, but he couldn't seem to remember it. It was very blurry. However, at this moment, the outline of that blurry face continued to appear in his mind, forming a clear outline of a face. Who are you? It wasn't the first time he asked this question, but he didn't get an answer every time. Shisheng raised his chin slightly. Your contractor. You're not. She was undying. But she wasn't undying either. Is it important? Shisheng tilted his head and smiled. You just need to remember that from now on, I'm your contractor. I'll protect you and accompany you until you die. Muyu stared at her for a moment and lowered his head. I won't break the contract. Even if I die, I won't. You don't have to waste your energy to numb me. He broke free from Shisheng. The iron sword fell from their hands to the ground with a crisp sound. Shisheng looked down at the iron sword. The room fell into a dead silence. Asterisk begging for votes. Begging for votes. Chapter 1255. Shisheng bent down to pick up the iron sword. She could understand what he was thinking. He didn't know who she was or what she wanted. The contract was a layer of protection that prevented her from hurting him. Seeing that this retard had no memory, she would forgive him for his rude behavior. Shisheng stood up with the sword. I'll get someone to deal with the body later. Muyu watched her leave the room. His tense body slowly relaxed. He leaned against the sofa, his whole body soft and weak. His gaze fell on the two people on the ground. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Cough, cough, cough. Muyu covered his mouth and coughed. His pale face became even paler. He took out a scalpel from the medical kit beside the sofa. He stood up and walked towards the two people on the ground. Perhaps his coughing woke them up. They were confused for a while. When they saw Muyu, they were shocked. Monster. What do you want? Monster. What do you want? Muyu's murderous intent intensified. The two people struggled and realized that they were tied up. They shouted at the top of their lungs, let us go. If you dare to touch us, the school will not let you go. Muyu stood in front of them and was silent for a few seconds. You attacked me first. These two people attacked him in the dormitory first. However, their attention was not on Muyu's words. You can talk. This monster could talk. How could he talk? After so many years, who didn't know that the eldest young master of the Mu family was mute, but he could actually speak? How could this be? It was impossible. Muyu looked at them condescendingly. A trace of mockery appeared on his pale face. I never said that I couldn't talk. Shisheng stood at the door and listened to the noise inside. She looked at the trembling Class D demon. What's your name? The Class D demon hesitated for a moment. Finally, he gritted his teeth and answered, "Sly boy." "Good name." Shisheng walked downstairs. "Clean up. Don't disturb him." "Yes, master." Shisheng paused for a moment. He didn't refute the way he addressed him and quickly disappeared into the night. Except for high-level demons whose names were public, low-level demons would not show their real names. Once a high-level demon knew their name, it meant that they had given their lives to the other party. Looking at the night sky, Cunning Child sighed inwardly. He did not know if it was his fortune or misfortune to follow a demon king. He glanced at the door and felt that it was a little abrupt for him to enter at this time, so he stood outside for a while. After the room was quiet for a long time, he carefully entered. The man had already returned to the sofa. 2 corpses were lying in the middle of the room. Their eyes were wide open, filled with fear and despair. There was a blood-stained scalpel on the ground. Sly Child shuddered for no apparent reason. He gently removed the corpse from the room, cleaned up the blood on the floor, and quickly left the room. His master's master was truly a little scary. Of course, master was still more terrifying. Jiao Tong waited outside for the whole night. When dawn broke, Shisheng came back slowly with breakfast in her hands. She gave Jiao Tong a portion, but then she remembered that demons did not need to eat, so she took it back. Jiao Tong was speechless. "Master." Jiao Tong followed Shisheng into the room and whispered, He seems to be seriously injured." Shisheng put down the breakfast and turned to look at Jiao Tong. Muyu did look weak yesterday, but that was probably due to excessive blood loss. She had already taken some medicine for him, so his wounds should have healed. After all, she had already recovered. Jiao Tong thought that Shisheng was asking him silently, so he quickly said, "I heard him coughing for the whole night." Shisheng looked at the thin figure on the sofa and waved her hand to dismiss Jiao Tong. After Jiao Tong left, Shisheng walked to Muyu's side and pulled him up from the sofa. Muyu opened his eyes. "What's the matter? Are you hurt?" Muyu raised his hand. His wrist was still wrapped in gauze, and it was stained with blood. "Not this." "No." Muyu put down his hand and lay back down. "The people from the Mu family will be here soon. If you don't want to be involved, leave this place." "Do you think I'm afraid of them?" Shisheng snorted and bent down to pick him up. Muyu's eyes flashed with shock. He reached out to push her away. "Let go of me." Shisheng looked at him. "Be obedient if you don't want to be thrown down by me. I'm your master." Muyu glared at her. "Even if you're not Wei Shi, the contract can't be changed." Shisheng smirked. "So what? You tried to control me last time, and what happened in the end? That's because Muyu paused. His hands that were pressing against Shisheng's shoulders gradually weakened. "That's because he was injured." Shisheng smelled blood and reminded him. "Don't use too much strength. Your wound is bleeding." Muyu's strength was getting weaker. Shisheng carried him to the table. Muyu was a little overwhelmed when he felt something soft beside him. He looked into the empty space. When Shisheng put him down on the chair, he heaved a sigh of relief. Shisheng picked up the medical box on the ground and put it on the table. She rummaged through the box and then removed the gauze on his wrist. The wound had split open, and the strong smell of blood assaulted her senses. She frowned. "How did you come back?" Muyu did not answer, and Shisheng did not continue to ask. He stared at Shisheng as she changed his dressing and rebandaged his wound. Shisheng pushed the unnecessary things to the other side of the table and pulled the breakfast over. "Eat something." The teenager's hair was messy, and his delicate face was full of confusion. "Where did you get the money?" Demons did not eat, so naturally they did not have money. "I stole it." Shisheng dragged a chair over. "Do you want me to feed you?" The teenager opened his mouth. The tip of his pink tongue could be seen between his pale lips. Shisheng pinched herself to stop herself from pouncing on him. Muyu's darkness and his occasional naivety were extremely contradictory. However, he was very guarded. She was afraid that she would scare him if she progressed too quickly. She had to take it slow. He glanced at Shisheng and spat out 2 words. "No need." Muyu ate the porridge with his uninjured hand. The porridge tasted very good. It was not bought nearby. Well, how should I tidy up the bedroom? Muyu looked up. The person who was sitting next to him was now standing at the door and looking at him. Muyu stuck out his tongue and swept the porridge in. I can't live here. You don't have to tidy it up. Are you that afraid of the Mu family? Shisheng walked back and sat next to him. I'm not afraid. Muyu pushed away the half-eaten porridge. But I'm not strong enough to be their enemy. It's not shameful to show weakness. Shisheng moved closer to him and broke into a smile. You don't have to show weakness to anyone other than me. Chapter 1256. You don't have to show weakness to anyone other than me. Muyu stared blankly at Shisheng. His lifeless eyes were replaced by confusion. He didn't seem to understand what Shisheng meant, so he didn't react for a long time. Shisheng slowly approached him. Just as she was about to touch him, a sound came from outside. Master, master. Jiao Tong's voice came through the door. He was anxious and trembling. The confusion in Muyu's eyes faded. He leaned back and put some distance between them. They're here. Shisheng stood up to open the door. Jiao Tong pointed outside the building with a pale face. Demon cleansers are here. Shisheng walked to the balcony and looked down. The floors here weren't high, so she could see the nearby streets clearly. Heaven Street was filled with good and bad people, but the people here had one thing in common. They were poor. The group of people was easy to recognize. From their behavior and clothes, they could be easily distinguished from the crowd. Demon cleansers were searching the streets. Occasionally, they would encounter demons and fights would break out. Master, they seem to be looking for someone. Should we hide? He was just a normal demon. His disguise wasn't as good as a high-level demon, so the demon cleansers could easily see through him. You go first. Shisheng turned and went into the house. What about you, master? Jiao Tong stood at the door and kept stomping his feet to show his uneasiness. If you want to go, then go. If you don't, then shut up. Jiao Tong struggled for a while and ran down the stairs. Shisheng returned to Muyu's side. Are you full? Muyu nodded slightly. Shisheng picked him up again and put him on the sofa. Although he was still a little uncomfortable, Muyu didn't struggle this time. He went along with her. She sat beside him calmly. It was as if she didn't care about the demon cleansers below. It's not too late for you to leave now. You're worried about me? Shisheng glanced sideways. This is my business. It has nothing to do with you. How do you know they're here for you? Shisheng put her hand on his side. Muyu had to lean back. I forgot to tell you. Yesterday, I flipped the student council over. Shisheng reached out and moved her hand down his brows bit by bit. Muyu's eyes widened slightly. In a moment of desperation, he used his injured hand to push her away. His brows furrowed. His wrist lost strength, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. It's not like I'm going to do anything to you. Why are you overreacting? His hand was held by someone else. Can't you use that hand? You have to use this one. Muyu bit her lower lip. I forgot, he paused. The student union has no grudge against you. Yes, there will be in the future. Shisheng sneered. Yesterday's lesson was too easy for them. The people from the student union often bullied Muyu. In the past, when the original owner met them, he would teach them a lesson because of the principle that contractors shouldn't be so embarrassed. If she hadn't met him, the original owner wouldn't have helped Muyu take revenge. However, these were the people she cherished the most. Not a single one of them could escape. Muyu wanted to pull his hand back, but Shisheng's grip was a little too tight. He exerted a little force, and Shisheng's hands immediately loosened. Don't use too much force. It's a wound. Muyu put his hand back to his side and lowered his head, his silver hair covering his face. You went to the student union to save me? Yes. She didn't use to meddle in other people's business. Just like you. She watched coldly from the sidelines. She would only take action when her dignity was challenged. She was the same as Wei Shi. Shisheng knew he was talking about Wei Shi. Wei Shi was dissatisfied with this contract. Moreover, Wei Shi's temper was a little unruly. She wanted to become stronger and leave Muyu. Naturally, She wouldn't meddle in other people's business. You're different to me. Muyu pinched the fingertips of his right hand with his left hand. What's different? Because you found that I can make you stronger, right? Shisheng reached out and pinched Muyu's chin, forcing him to look up. I'm only interested in you. I don't care about other things. Don't think about other things. Muyu didn't respond at all. Don't you understand what you mean? I want your body and your heart. I want you to belong to me. Do you understand? He opened his mouth and said in a small voice, You want me? Shisheng nodded very seriously. I want you. Muyu fell silent again. Shisheng looked at him and guessed that he still didn't understand. Shisheng pressed him onto the sofa. Muyu's expression suddenly changed. Don't come over. Don't come over. A trace of panic appeared on his face. His pale face looked especially pitiful. He hugged himself and pressed his body against the sofa behind him. He stared at her warily. Don't come over. Shisheng was speechless. What was wrong with him? Couldn't he be a normal person? Why was it so difficult for I to be in a relationship? Shisheng backed away just as she heard footsteps coming from outside. Muyu jumped down from the sofa and walked barefoot to the other side of the room. The panic on his face faded as he walked. Bam! The door was kicked open. Muyu looked over expressionlessly. A few people came in from outside. When they saw the people in the room, they immediately raised their weapons. Someone shouted outside, Young master is here. Soon people came in one after another. A bespectacled man walked into the room under everyone's gaze. These people were obviously led by this bespectacled man. The bespectacled man looked around the room, and his sharp gaze landed on Shisheng. Young master, I'm afraid your familiar will have to be taken care of by the family for a period of time. Muyu didn't say anything. The bespectacled man continued. Young master, this is the last time. If you make another mistake, the family won't protect you anymore. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand. Take him away. Muyu didn't react. He waited for the people to come closer, and followed them obediently. Muyu, Shisheng called out. Muyu paused and glanced sideways. Shisheng stretched out his hand. Come here. Muyu stared at the hand. His feet turned slightly, but he stopped in the next second. Young master, please. The bespectacled man looked at him coldly. The coldness between Shisheng's eyebrows gradually froze. Muyu, I'll say it one last time. Come here. How dare you? The bespectacled man shouted. This is not the place for a familiar like you to speak. Shisheng glanced at him. When I'm speaking, it's not the place for a dog to bark. You. The bespectacled man was so angry that his face turned ashen. Take young master away. Muyu looked at the coldness on his face, and suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. He subconsciously walked toward Shisheng. The people beside him wanted to stop him, but when they reached out their hands, they were pricked by something. Ah! They raised their hands and looked. Their hands were charred as if they had been roasted by something. Muyu walked back to Shisheng unimpeded and put his hand in hers. Shisheng withdrew his hand. I've said before that you don't need to show weakness to anyone other than me. Remember this. If anyone dares to disrespect you, I'll help you pay them back 100 times. That you're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.